Channel 9 in Toronto, Cable 8.
Labatt's Blue Jays Baseball, brought to you by Labatt's Blue, the clean, true taste of Canada. And by Esso, retailers and agents across Canada. This afternoon from Royal Stadium in Kansas City, it's the Blue Jays and the Royals in Game 1 of the 1988 regular season. And of course, just down the road at Kemper Stadium, the finals for the NCAA Basketball Championship. It's Kansas and Oklahoma. This city is really jumping today. Blue Jay fans, fasten your seatbelts and get set for what has already started out to be the most controversial season in the history of the Toronto Blue Jays. With the Bell situation, Mosby, did the Jays leave all that controversy in spring training? Only time will find out. Let's go upstairs. Here's Don Chevry and Tony Kubek.
Thank you, Fergie. Hi again, everybody. You know, opening day is a marvelous time when the world gets a chance to start all over again. For now, everybody is in first place in the American League. It's the final 14 as of right now. But, Tony, can the Jays put behind them what happened the final week of last year?
I think it's been an unfair term that's been used, Don, that the Blue Jays collapsed. Basically, what happened was Doyle Alexander won the East by going 9-0 for the Tigers. Question marks, yes, there are for the Blue Jays. The elbow of Tony Fernandez, and of course Jimmy Key. Hanky is his arm tired. Can Luriano lead off? Can Camposano hit? Not a question, but they still should win this thing if they're healthy.
We'll find out a lot of those things as the year goes along, but what a marvelous day to get it all started here. 80 degrees, the sun is shining in Kansas City. Enjoy it along with us.
Okay, so you love your car. Whoa, you're not going inside yet. The tires, the 4 round things underneath. There you go. Now, see that armor all protected? Wipe some of that stuff on the tires and bumpers. Okay, now get in the car and do the dash and the seats. You can do this. This is not rocket science. Now, look at your car. Now go in the house and tell them how hard you worked. Go ahead. They don't know about armor all. They'll buy it.
There's heart in this land, it's there in all we do. That's why hands across this country reach for the blue. And when we get together, it's a taste that's clean and true. So when you call, then you call for the blue. You know it's gotta be blue, that's why you call for the blue. That's why you call for your blue. It's time to call for the blue.
Where all that's new, design with flair, everything you want to wear.
The Bay's Ladies Shoe Spectacular is an irresistible opportunity to strut the latest styles and colors by Avante, Bay Club, and Jeunesse. With leather shoes only $29.99 or $19.99 for other styles, how can you resist?
The fashion store, every day, that's why you believe in the Bay.
And Saberhagen takes his final warm-up pitches. Let's look at how the Jays will hit first time out of the gate. Nelson Luriano at second base. Looks strange, doesn't it? Lloyd Mosby in left. Fernandez back at shortstop. George Bell, the DH. Third base goes to Rance Mullenix. He started a lot of seasons for the Jays there. Ernie Witt catches again. Right field goes to Barfield. Young Fred McGriff, a fixture at first base now with Upshaw gone. And the man in the middle of all the controversy, young Sil Campusano, patrolling center field for the Jays. It's all coming up shortly. This is, of course, the chance for Saberhagen to shine at home before what could be a record crowd here, even beating the 41,000 plus who saw the Jays and the Royals a few years ago. This is the 4th time these two teams have opened in Kansas City. Tony, let's check the defense for the Royals.
Well, Bo Jackson left. He beat out young Gary Thurman, the speedster, in spring training this year. Had a great ovation for Jackson when he was introduced. Willie Wilson, Danny Tartabull, Kevin Seitzer, a big addition. Kurt Stillwell over from Cincinnati. Frank White opening the season again. Balboni, Brett a late scratch at first. He'll DH. And another rookie catches the first pitch. Mike McFarlane from Saberhagen.
Calling balls and strikes, Dave Phillips behind the plate. Dick Voltaggio at first base, Steve Palermo at second, and Dan Morrison patrolling at third. Laureano misses just by a matter of 28 at-bats, officially being a rookie. The Blue Jays do have 4 rookies as it is on their current roster. Saberhagen works high to him, so it's a ball and a strike to Laureano, who will be followed by Mosby and then Fernandez.
New manager John Wathan, former catcher, trying to change the look of this team. We'll talk about his starting rotation.
That'll back up Wilson, but he's got all kinds of leg to get into that one near the track. A long fly ball out for Laureano.
I'll show you something incredible. On that ball, Bo Jackson, thinking that the ball might be lost in the sun, came all the way from left field and was standing in dead center field. That'll show you the great running speed of Bo Jackson in case Willie Wilson got in trouble. He's just jogging back to his normal position.
He is a gazelle.
Oh, man, world-class speed, and we know about his power.
Let's bring up Lloyd Mosby in left field, and just as unhappy, if not more so, than George Bell about being DH is Lloyd about playing where he has to go this year. He said it could take away from his offense. He said you'll never take a center fielder out of the ball game, or rarely, but you can always take an 0 for 3 left fielder out. He said it may cost me some at-bats, and he said those things are frustrating, and they'll be on my mind.
He's overreacting. Lloyd will do a good job in left field, and I don't know, the question is, will he do a better job in left field than George Bell? George Bell was a better than average left fielder.
And yet he would be the least impressive of the 3 they had. That's only because Mosby and Barfield were so exceptional. He pushes it off foul, holding it 2 strikes.
Saberhagen, the comeback player of the year, the American League last year, won 18, as you know, but he had a great first half. He had 15 wins at the All-Star break and then went downhill. That is why John Wathan, their manager, said he's going with a 4-man rotation to start, but he's not going to let them get a lot of complete games. Saberhagen had 15 last year, and the pitching staff was burned out by September.
Now, checked off again, same direction.
He is throwing hard.
He is 1-2 lifetime against the Jays. In fact, his only win over Toronto came at Exhibition Stadium on July the 11th with, again, Jimmy Key, the same opponent as today.
He has a great fastball, which he controls very well, a great straight change, and that tough slider. And he's still very young, not yet 25.
1-2. He missed inside to Mosby, who will be followed by Tony Fernandez with 1 gone in the Blue Jay first inning. It is finally here. The day we all wait for, the first sure sign of spring, opening day of the baseball season. Stroke down to dependable Frank White, the Gold Glover at second base. Balboni playing for Brett, who's the DH today, and 2 are gone.
He's got 8 Gold Gloves at that second base spot, which ties Bill Mazeroski. Also had 8 when he played. It's a record for second baseman.
A man from your era, Mazeroski.
Remember him well.
I don't want to date you, but we can date ourselves. Can you believe this? 12th year of doing Blue Jay telecast.
You've fooled him a long time, kid.
Boy. Older, but not necessarily better. Here's Tony Fernandez, whose elbow, thank you, is much better. Interesting exercise Tony does. Did it before the game today. Hooks this long cord up to any kind of foundation he can find, a screen, a fence, a post, or whatever, and keeps pulling on it, exercising that elbow that was broken last year.
The thing about it, Don, he started that years ago. In fact, after he left Syracuse, when he had shoulder problems, his throwing shoulder, and he did it to really strengthen the shoulder. He's continuing to do it now. What it's done is it's made him a more powerful left-handed hitter. He can get that bottom hand, the right hand out with the bat, hitting left-handed now, and he's got a little bit more punch because of the exercises.
He is a .273 career hitter against the Kansas City Royals. This is not the only game in town. It certainly isn't Kansas City, but elsewhere. Detroit and Boston, they're underway already. Milwaukee and Baltimore. Chance of showers forecast for Memorial Stadium there. California opening in Chicago. Cleveland's in Texas with Willie Upshaw starting at first base for the Tribe. Seattle and Oakland to get it rolling in the American League. Here's the 1-2 now to Fernandez, and again, he pushes it off. Souvenir, a hard-fought one for the crowd here, holding it at 1-2.
Well, it's the only day of the year. There's Pat Gillick, the general manager. Some said he stood still. He didn't. 7 new faces on this Blue Jays roster that were not with the ball club opening day last year.
Well, it also can be said he made a lot of his moves in the final 6 or 8 weeks of last season, geared A, to a possible pennant last year, and B, to how this team would look in '88. So the action came earlier. Right back to Saberhagen, the roller from Fernandez, and the Blue Jays are gone quickly and quietly in the first inning of Major League competition this year. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV.
You could win a trip to the Indy 500 during Goodyear's big event sale. Get fabulous savings on all-season high-performance radials. Save on our lowest price performance radials. Our best all-season radials. And our lowest priced all-season radials. Remember the Indy 500 contest and hurry to your participating Goodyear retailer. The big event sale ends soon.
Goodyear takes you home.
0 to 60 in the new Cutlass Supreme. Introducing the new Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. Because the only thing we changed is everything. It goes from 0 to 60 people faster than you've ever seen before. Oldsmobile, engineered to spoil you.
In a perfect world, your brakes would never be a problem. In a perfect world, your brakes would be fixed by a specialist.
Are you the brake specialist?
Yeah. But the world isn't perfect.
Yeah, that's me.
That's why there's Midas, where trained brake specialists make your brakes their priority.
Here's your Midas brake guarantee. Perfect. As close as you can get.
Midas, top guns for brakes.
No question, this man deserves to be the Blue Jays starting pitcher on opening day. The superb left-hander, Jimmy Key. Here's the lineup he'll work to, Tony.
Willie Wilson, the switch hitter, playing center field, and then a guy who tied for the number of base hits in the American League with 207, Kevin Seitzer. George Brett DHing. Danny Tartabull, a big year last year for Kansas City with his 30 home runs. Frank White in the 5th slot. Steve Balboni slimmed down, playing at first base. Bo Jackson in left field. Mike McFarlane, he'll get his first Major League bat today. He's a rookie. And then the switch hitter, batting number 9, Kurt Stillwell. A great acquisition. They've had about, well, he's the best shortstop they've had and maybe the best of all time. You're going back to Freddie Patek, at least. There's been a lot of instability in that spot in the last 5 years.
It cost them a stellar pitcher in Danny Jackson going over to Cincinnati to get Stillwell in that deal. But Jimmy Key, runner-up to Roger Clemens in Cy Young voting last year, makes his 2nd straight opening day start. He was the winner in Toronto as the Indians fell 7-3 last year. Now here's the Blue Jay defense to support him. Mosby in left, Campusano in center field, Barfield in right. Mononix gets to start again at third base. Then Fernandez, Liriano McGriff, and Ernie Witt catching Jimmy Key, who's all set to go against Willie Wilson. It is high, ball 1.
And Don and you folks watching, when we get into big ballparks like this in our telecast, and Kansas City's huge in left center, right center field, you're going to see something from Campusano. He plays shallow, and he put on a show, they tell me, in that big ballpark in Denver, those 2 ball games. He is playing almost like a roamer for Willie Wilson, who doesn't have a lot of power. He's like a roamer. Look at all the ground behind him. Must be at least 100 feet behind him. That's the confidence going back on the ball.
And you'll get a chance from Wilson. On his horse, he's got it.
He's something, folks. He's got a great throwing arm, great instincts, an outstanding jump. Willie hit Major League pitching, though. And what happens is, with the confidence to go back that Silvestri has, is a lot of those loopers and line drives he's going to catch that would have fallen in before. And they're going to have a heck of a time hitting one over his head, as you just saw.
Here is the man who was so sensational last year, Kevin Seitzer, at third base, batting 2nd. Thing about Campusano, the irony was, just hours after he won the contest with Rob Ducey to play center field, he made a diving catch, and Dunedin was shaken up, and they thought they might have lost him for opening day. He's fine, as you can see. It is ball 1 to Kevin Seitzer.
Fortunately, Campusano bruised, and they said a very, very slight separation of his left shoulder, not his throwing shoulder. He finished that game and got 3 more at bats.
Yep. Fernandez will test the elbow right now. Tough play. Can't quite get anything on it. So Seitzer beats it out.
Tony's elbow still tender. And it's the thing that you've got to wonder, will it just stay tender and gradually get well, or will it get worse? Everybody hopes not. Fergie?
George Brett, what about that finger of yours? You have to DH today.
Well, it's still a little bit sore. At first base, you make a lot of throws between innings and stuff like that, and it's real uncomfortable when I throw a little bit. And basically, they're going to DH me today, try to give it a little bit of rest with a day off tomorrow. Hopefully, I'll be at first base Wednesday night.
George has had his physical ailments certainly over the last few years. A slight tear and a ligament in his right knee, rib cage injuries, made the switch from third base to first, and as you heard, because of the finger, at least today, to DH.
He gets 550 at-bats, healthy at-bats. Kansas City could win this thing with their starting pitching.
A lot of room here, but not quite enough for that one as it flies out of play.
Been an interesting spring. The Royals ran wild in spring training, starting a lot of runners. George Brett said for 6 years here, since Whitey Herzog left, I never even knew the signs. It was just hit away. And Wathan took the job last year for 36 games, I guess it was. They stole 40 bases or 42 bases. So he's got people running. He's got Brett hitting running at times.
He certainly was a rarity, a running catcher who could steal. One strike to George Brett.
Campusano playing just about as shallow even for George Brett.
Sights are with the lead.
There he goes.
Yes, he is. So the throw's on the money. He's a dead man.
He missed him. No, Tony was late getting there, and he missed the tag.
Should have had him, but didn't get the tag down.
Tony tried to wait a little bit longer not to give up the shortstop gap, and when he took it on the run, Seitzer slid beneath him. The new running attack of the Kansas City Royals. Once Tony, he leaps right over the top. He didn't get there. Oh, boy, that replay, perhaps not conclusive, but it looked like he may have brushed him. Steve Palermo at second, one of the best, says he missed it.
So he's at second base, one gone, and Brett can drive him home from there. Of course, the running attack, part of a plan to get more runs across for Kansas City. A very low-scoring team the last couple of years. Brett hits it way out to right field.
Wynn's going to carry it, is it?
So long, there's home run number 1. Brett burns the Jays again, and Jimmy Key jumping on top 2-0. And the joy of opening day abounds here with these Royals fans.
Remember Bobby Cox in the League Championship Series, the respect he showed for George Brett with a couple of men on base and he walked him with first base occupied. Doyle Alexander did not. He got beat with a home run to left center field, 1-ball game. Early in the game, Jimmy Key looked like he tried to throw a breaking ball that just spun and stayed there. A very slight breeze blowing out to right. They want Brett to come out. He is one who refuses to come out and be a showboat, but the fans want him out. He comes out.
Waves and goes right back in, acknowledging the first home run of the year. It's 2-0 Kansas City, and that'll bring up Danny Tartabull. Strike one.
Last year in Danny Tartabull, when he came over from Seattle, he got the man with the home run power to back up George Brett in the lineup in that 4 slot. Frank White in the past, Bell Boney, but he struck out too much.
Tartabull last year, into the second player in Royals history to hit over 300 while hitting 30 or more home runs. He knocked 34 out of American League parks. 1-1 to him. Thought about it, holds back. It is 2-1 as Jimmy Key missed.
He perhaps never saw his father Jose play, but he was left-handed, ran like the Dickens, slapped at the ball, hit the left field. Complete opposite son. This Tartabull hacks away, strikes out a lot, and gives you a lot of power.
Dad played for the former Kansas City A's. This telecast presented by authority of the Toronto Blue Jays Baseball Club may not be broadcast in a rebroadcast form in any way without the express written consent of the Toronto Blue Jays Baseball Club. 2-2, Tartabull strikes out. They'll make sure at first base.
So strikeout assist for Ernie Witt, put out for Fred McGriff. About 2 weeks ago, I went over to the B complex as we looked at Jimmy Williams and Elwood Meyer, and sure they're a little concerned over a little muscle tenderness in the left elbow, or near the left elbow of Jimmy Key. Went over in the B game, pitching for Syracuse with Witt catching in. Jimmy Key had difficulty throwing this hard breaking stuff. Apparently a muscle there. Now he had some shoulder weakness at the end of last season with his big inning build-up. That appears to be okay now. Now it's a little elbow tenderness.
This is the veteran Frank White. And it is ball one to him. White, who's done a lot of weight work the last few years, has really increased his power, not as noticeably last year as the season before. He had 17 home runs nonetheless. To a certain extent, at the expense of average, which has always been high for him. He gets a base hit. First time up, keeps the inning alive. You know, the most impressive aspect, Al Whitbar says, of Jimmy Key's pitch selection is his changeup. How would the elbow affect that?
Not at all, and I think that's why the game I saw him pitch, and he hasn't pitched for quite a while now, with that little tenderness, getting some treatments, won't affect the changeup, won't affect the fastball. It might affect the sinker when he turns it over. I don't know that for a fact, but the breaking ball seemed to be the one, the hard breaking ball that bothered him. But he changes speeds. He's almost like a left-handed catfish hunter. Not just a straight change of the fastball, it's variable speeds in between.
And the arm motion is so deceiving. Here is Big Balboni jumping on the first pitch, lifting it into shallow right field. Here's Laureano calling off all comers, and he makes the final out. But Jimmy Key gets burned for 3 hits. The big blast, the 2-run homer by the old Blue Jays nemesis, George Brett. And the Royals lead the Jays after an inning, 2-0 on opening day in Kansas City. This is Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV.
I was new in town, kept hearing I'm going to Harvey's and I've been to Harvey's. I wanted to meet this fella, sounded real popular. When suddenly I saw people topping these big, juicy charbroiled burgers, having them this way and that way. Everybody looking real pleased about the entire situation. Well, I never did meet Harvey, but I sure found out why everybody was a-coming and a-going from his place. 'Cause you can get it just the way you want at Harvey's restaurant. It was a beautiful sight.
If you care about your body, come to the Stripes Foot Locker. Get it right for your body. If you exercise your body, come to the Stripes Foot Locker. Get it right for your body. And fit by the pros, the expert who knows the shoes that are best for people who are serious. Get it right for your body. Come to the Stripes Foot Locker. Come to the Stripes.
The experts at Car and Driver have said the Honda Accord is the only car to make the 10 best list every year for 6 years running, which makes it the one perfect player. Why, it's almost enough to make us blush.
Blue Jay manager Jimmy Williams, the biggest story in spring training was the George Bell situation. Today, it's opening day. Is there anything you'd like to say about it?
Well, certainly we're very fortunate to have George Bell in our ball club. We know what he has meant to our organization. I think those fans in Toronto realize what he has done for the organization, the accolades he has received. He's definitely earned them. I think the most important thing, though, is, you know, he spoke his piece, had his opinion, which is fair. I'm the manager. Maybe there has been undue criticism in both corners. One thing I would like to say is, you know, he is a designated hitter, and, you know, let's give him a chance in Toronto. And I think the fans there, because of what he has given the fans, what the fans have given him, you know, deserves an opportunity at the start of the 1988 season. And let's put spring training behind us and go into 88 and on an even keel and praise George Bell for what he's done and what he's certainly going to do for our ball club.
George, for now, has done his talking with his bat. 47 home runs last year. First time up, he cranks it out here in Kansas City, and it's 2-1.
First pitch fastball from Brett Saberhagen. And a park that is a good pitcher's ballpark, perhaps the best pitcher's park in the American League, and George just made it look small. Ball went up there quite a ways near the bullpen. I think there's a little wind across wind. It doesn't show by the flags. It may have deadened it a little bit, killed it.
That is George's 7th career home run at Royal Stadium. That is by far the most of any Blue Jay. Here is Lloyd Mosby now, or Mononix, in the number 2 spot as they jump the number 5 spot now.
It's an interesting lineup, Jimmy Williams, as he has Mulnix and then Ernie Witt, and I believe there's a reason for it. Jimmy Williams, I think, may prove that he is a little bit better manager than people gave him credit for last year. He thinks an awful lot. Last year, remember at the end, before Witt got already hit 5th behind Balwell, there's only one left-handed pitcher, and Jimmy knows it in this bullpen, so he, in case he pinches for Mulnix later on, they bring in the left-hander to pitch to him. He would pinch it for Mulnix, but does not want to pinch it for Witt. So that's why he's got Mullix and then Witt to follow him after Bell.
And Rance hitting against the right-hander for Kelly Gruber will platoon at third base again. He'll see a lot of action. 11 home runs last year. He's got a habit of homering opening day. This one is not going to carry, though, as Billy Wilson gets over toward right, and he'll make the catch for the first out. So Mononix is down. It'll bring up the catcher, Ernie Witt, the number 6 spot.
We're going to take you back to the bottom of the first before George Brett's home run. Remember, Seitzer got on with an infield single. Tony couldn't get the ball across the diamond. And then Tony coming over to cover on Witt's throw. Did he tag him or didn't he? Well, did he brush his shoulder? Palermo says he missed him completely. So the missed tag may have set up the 2-run home run. They'd have pitched Brett a little differently with out that man at second.
Palermo had a great position on the play.
He sure did. He's one of the best. He really hustles. In fact, this is a great crew right here with Phillips. You mentioned Ortagio Palermo and Dan Morrison.
Ernie filing it out. He's 0-2. One of only 2 Blue Jays to hit 3 homers in a single game. That was when the Blue Jays tore the Orioles apart on September the 14th last fall. The other one? Go way, way back to 1980. Otto Velez, not only 3 in the game, but he led off the next game, the second of a doubleheader, with a home run against Cleveland. Ernie pops this up. It'll be Seitzer at third base settling under it. That's the second out of the inning.
Talk about the thrill rookies have in their first opening day games, McFarlane and Camposano. This is also the day of the year where you see the aces of every staff going up against each other, unless, of course, there's an injury. Like a Roger Clemens against a Jack Morris today up in Boston.
That's what makes it so special. Each team going with the best they have. Barfield hitting in the number 7 spot today. Starts his 7th consecutive opening day for the Blue Jays. Only Lloyd Mosby and Ernie Witt have started more, but not consecutively. Although Mosby has started 8 in a row. Ernie Witt a total of 8. He reached for the 1-1 and sends it back. You know, those numbers last year at Barfield, a lot of guys would take, except perhaps for the average. The 28 home runs, the 84 runs driven in. The 263 plagues him. But by his standards, not a great year. Certainly, by a lot of players' standards, a career year.
Well, Jesse had to have a little surgery on his wrist. He played with it, had a lot of cortisone shots last year. He had a little surgery, I believe, on his knee arthroscopically to clean it out. So he played through a lot of injuries last year and still threw up some pretty good numbers.
And defensively, he is so strong with that arm. With 101 career assists, he tied last year with Ruben Sierra of Texas for the league lead with 17.
Don, I still don't think we've seen the end of what some have categorized as the best outfield in baseball of the 80s.
I don't either.
I think we may see a lot more of that than people think, unless a trade is made. I worry about Camposano a little bit, not defensively, but about hitting that breaking ball.
He reached for a pitch, fading away from him. He's gone, so are the Blue Jays, but they get Bell's leadoff home run. Now, after 1.5, it's 2-1 Royals on Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV.
If you're in the dark about your financial future, see the manufacturers. A century of financial experience gives us a clear view of the future and clear ideas to help brighten yours.
Listen, sweetheart, have you any idea what would happen if you rent a car from somebody other than Thrifty? Chances are they'd cost too much. If you don't rent from Thrifty, you'll regret it. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon for the rest of your life.
Rent a luxurious Chrysler 5th Avenue for only $36.95 a day. Thrifty has convenient in-terminal locations in most major airports across Canada. Call 1-800-4CARS today.
Thrifty, this is the start of a beautiful friendship.
Introducing the 1988 Nissan Pulsar NX, now more powerful than ever. The car for people who know where they're going and want to get there sooner. Nissan Pulsar NX. Built for the most important race of all, the human race.
If your financial future looks fuzzy, get a hand from the manufacturers. As one of Canada's largest financial companies, we have the vision to help you see your future and the clout to help you shape it.
Manager John Wathen, the Royals got away from the running game. You're going to take them back to that.
Well, we felt we had to, Fergie. The last couple of years, we've had trouble scoring runs. We've always had a tremendous pitching staff in Kansas City, always up near the top in earned run average, and we feel that we need to manufacture some runs. We've got the speed to do it. We've just kind of sat back the last few years, and now we're feeling pretty good about our running game. We're going to steal some more bases. We're going to hit and run and execute. And situation hitting is a big part of that as well. Getting guys over to second and third base and getting them in, fly ball, ground ball, whatever it takes.
And here is Bo Jackson. They weren't quite sure, he wasn't at least, how he'd be received here after all the controversy last year going over to football. But he got a tremendous ovation from these fans here when he was introduced this afternoon. The count is 1-0 to him.
It wasn't just going over to football. It was the team he went over to. Probably the most dreaded and hated rivalry
the Raiders
in all of football, the Raiders and the Chiefs.
They love him now. Well, Bo is brash, young, and full of confidence. 22 home runs despite his horrendous strikeout record, the worst percentage of strikeouts of anybody in Major League history. There were 400 at bats, but he says this year he will tattoo a home run off the scoreboard here at Royal Stadium. You know, with his power, he just might do it. It's 1-2. There it is. That's his target for the year.
He hit one on the grass just to the base of that. They said it was about 480 feet last year. With the new hitting instructor, Mike Lum, who's got a lot of the late Charlie Louse theories, and Hal McRae, who's now in the Pittsburgh organization as a minor league instructor. Lum has gotten to Bo Jackson just a little bit. Doesn't wrap that bat around his neck as much. His swing is a little bit shorter, which might help him against some breaking and off-speed stuff.
A lot of his strikeouts came early in the game in his first at bat. He struck out in 54 of the 122 games.
He had a good first half last year. I mean, he struck out a lot, but he would have 18 home runs, drove in 40-some. In the second half, he was awful, to say the least. He couldn't do anything right.
At his high, 2-2. It averaged one strikeout every 2.7 plate appearances.
So Jack Morris beating Roger Clemens 1-0 there. Higuera, the left-hander. Teddy Higuera against Mike Boddicker, and scoreless in the third. Joe McGrain facing Mario Soto in that game.
Bo goes down on strikes again. That's the second for Jimmy Key this afternoon.
You know, scouting reports have become so intense that even in spring training, the Kansas City Royals advanced scout followed the Blue Jays around every game, and there's a great straight change that just dropped off the table, almost like a little half screwball. But they perhaps saw that Jimmy Key wasn't throwing his breaking ball much, and the report gets back to the hitters. Hey, look for fastball, straight change, off-speed curve. There he tried to throw a little harder breaking ball.
Here's the rookie catcher with the Royals, Mike McFarland, with just 16 days of Major League service behind him in the number 8 spot. Hit 262 at Omaha last year, reaches for that, and it is fading toward the seats, and will just get in there.
McFarland, quite a surprise. Coming back from rotator cuff surgery.
Well, opening day, we perhaps need not remind you of that. The Yankees in Toronto, except to say that all reserve seats are gone. But the come as you can and grab what you can section out there in the outfield, thousands of seats available for that game. But the reserve seats are gone. Others do remain for the Yankees on opening day next Monday.
It appears that the opening day pitcher, without weather problems or injuries, it appears that Mike Flanagan will be the opening day pitcher.
Off the wall, off the base for Barfield, and young McFarland will remember opening day of '88 with his double. Quite a thrill for a 23-year-old to be in the opening day lineup and then double his first time out.
Well, the problem areas for the Royals going into this spring training, they were worried about their bullpen. They've reshuffled that. They were worried about catching with Jamie Quirk, Larry Owens from last year. And McFarland coming back from rotator cuff surgery just a year ago. They didn't think he'd be ready, but he's made the ball club. A lot of versatility on this Royals club. Scotty Madison, he's a rookie. He can catch and play other positions.
The Royals have produced a couple of runs already with another threat here in the second inning. They were shut out 6 times last year during April. That tied a major league record. This team did not score runs, and that's the reason they failed to win despite some pretty good pitching. Here's a strike taken. It is 1-1 to Kurt Stillwell, the young man that Tony talked about, the shortstop coming over from Cincinnati.
He has trouble getting into major league ballparks. Still in his early 20s. There's trouble because his face is so youthful looking. You always think he's the bat boy. Nicknamed Opie. Remember who Opie was, didn't you?
Yeah.
Andy Griffith series.
You were the former Opie.
Yeah. He is a good turf player. He covers a lot of ground.
And he fouls it out. Pretty good bat. Question about his defense, though. He committed 18 errors in 51 games at shortstop. And not a great lifetime fielding percentage, but as you say, he's young and he will develop as he goes along.
Well, he was as a young player, it's awfully difficult to be thrown in a platoon situation. Pete Rose used him and Barry Larkin. If the Olympic team finally decided that he was expendable, still outside, it just a matter of not playing regularly. And also, with the range he has and the quickness, he's got a great runner, but he's got quickness. I think he gets to a lot of balls some people don't, which can always cause you a few more errors.
The carpet has caused him problems, though. He was just .882 his percentage fielding on carpets other than Cincinnati's. 2-2 count from Key. McFarland at second base, and that will be in foul territory and out of play. The Royals on George Brett's homer in the first inning lead the Blue Jays on George Bell's solo blast 2-1. We're playing in the bottom of the second inning, an opening day in Kansas City. Who do you like tonight, Oklahoma or Kansas?
Oklahoma. I love their defense, and they've got three big men, but two big men especially inside that can really dominate.
A team that has lost only 3 games all season, Sooners. Young Stillwell, 2 gone now in the Kansas City second. The third strikeout for Key. Back to the top of the order now for Willie Wilson.
Another straight change. He's already thrown quite a few. Now both Tony Fernandez and Mulnix have a talk with Jimmy Key, perhaps with a man on second base to figure out how he's going to pitch him, so they know, should they shade the line. What happens on the left side is, and infielders don't like it, but pitchers do it, they change up on their own. The catcher gives the fastball signals, they shade toward the middle of the diamond or lean that way, and then they change up on their own and they get beat to their right. And all those 2 guys on the left side will know, if you're going to change up on your own, you got to let us know so we can cheat more to our right. Nobody on base, it can kill you also, but especially with a man in scoring position. And that's what the conference is about, I believe.
Strike 2 to Wilson, who is renowned for his speed. Oddly enough, in his over 10 years of Major League service, he has led the American League in steals only once, but he's one of 5 players in history to have stolen 30 or more bases 10 consecutive years.
And pretty good competition for many years from Ricky Henderson, whose streak was broken after 6 last year by Reynolds from Cincinnati, from Seattle rather.
Harold Reynolds, that's high 1 and 2.
Who really does usually lead is in triples though. He had 15 last year, had 21 one year.
Willie has got that posh lifetime contract, one of 3 here in Kansas City. Brett and, of course, Quisenberry have the others. $1 million a year through '89, then options all the way to '94. But he hasn't hit 300 since 1984, and strikes out here to end the inning. 4 Ks now for Jimmy Key, who strikes out the side, but McFarland's 2-bagger in between. And it's 2-1 Royals after 2 on the Bats Blue Jays baseball on CTV.
Did you ever have to make up your mind to pick up on one and leave the other behind? It's not often easy and not often kind. Did you ever have to make up your mind? Did you ever have to finally decide to say yes to one that the other one's eyes?
Double Blue, Blue and Blue Light. 2 great beers, 1 tough decision.
Did you ever have to finally decide?
4 days in April, the greatest one-stop car sale in Metro history. April 6th to 9th, more than 2,000 1988 Chevs, Olds, Pontiacs, Buicks, Cadillacs, Fords, BMWs, Mazdas, and Nissans are on sale in the greatest one-stop car sale in Metro history. Toronto Automobile Center, Young north of Steeles. 4 days in April to save.
Marine farming on this scale was unheard of way back in 1988.
How did you get so far ahead?
Actually, Bell's wide range of office integration systems gave us a real edge. With Bell's help, we were able to work faster and smarter with the components we already had.
What's that?
Sardine, sir. Just a baby.
Tomorrow's successful companies are talking to Bell today.
John McLaren is at third again. Billy Smith back at first base, coaching for the Blue Jays, the same tandem as '87.
Managerial candidate down there at third, and John McLaren. Some people say Cito Gaston. Heard his name rumored to Atlanta in the event that they get off to a bad start, although Chuck Tanner's got a good contract. McLaren managed in Venezuela.
It is almost assured that Atlanta is going to get off to not a bad start, a pretty bad season. One strike to Fred McGriff, who's facing the right-hander today, Saberhagen, and has learned to handle left-handed pitching a little bit better. He showed that in the spring.
A few days back, though, from Jack Smiley, a left-hander from Pittsburgh Pirates, he got hit right in the head. Luckily for batting helmets.
Yes, sir.
I guess Fielder got hit also out in Denver, didn't he?
Yeah. Up in Mile High. Seitzer will have a look-see, but that is long gone. Got a new Yogi Berra coming up. Jim Gantner of the Milwaukee Brewers having a lot of fun, mangling the English language. Give you a few samples of what Gantner said lately, and forgetting something during a radio interview, he said, gee, I must have ambrosia.
That's chocolate factory down the street from County Stadium.
Here's one Canadians would love. On his winter hunting trip, he said it was in one of those Canadian proverbs. Then he got down to the capital of Argentina.
Hey, he's good at crossword puzzles, Jimmy.
Buenos dias. And about a recent golf tournament, he said it wasn't bad, but we had to use the contemporary greens.
Oh, man. Now there'll never be a Yogi. See where Yogi's a movie critic now?
Yeah.
Talking about somebody who's already won a Golden Glove Award in a Golden Globe. It's a beauty.
Here's our first look at Capusano here in the regular season.
Seitzer way up tight at third base in case Cappy tries to bunt. Look at what he's doing. He's going to try and take the bunt away from Cappy, and I haven't seen Capusano bunt too often. The thing he does is he does hit a lot of ground balls to the left side, and Seitzer's doing him a favor playing this shallow on the turf. Hey!
The ball hard, and is it fair? No. Just foul. He almost got himself a line drive home run.
Capusano does that quite a bit. With that top hand dominant stroke that he has, where the top hand comes over sometime too quickly, rolling it over, he pulls a lot of balls foul, and also hits a lot of balls on the ground when he tops them.
Well, he had 14 home runs in Syracuse, as you see, but he's capable, because he is so powerful, hits the ball so hard, of much more than that.
He'd be a better hitter if he just hit the ball straight away. Right center field, left center field, not tries to pull too much.
He surprised Balboni and made a good recovery at first base. Balboni, for a big man who has lost some weight, is not the slowest in the world. In fact, they used him last year as a pinch runner in one of the Royals' early season games.
The second baseman.
He's slimmed down quite a bit. For the last couple of years, he's had to come to spring training and battle for a contract. Had some back problems 2 off seasons ago. And that's something you put a guy in for Brett who's become a very accomplished first baseman. And Brett might have been playing farther off the line, and Balboni's somehow hanging on the line, and he takes a double away.
All worked out.
It's a crazy game.
2 quick outs on that play, plus the McGriff strikeout. And here is Nelson Laureano, who sent Wilson back near the track with a long fly ball to center in the first. While Nelson misses by 28 at-bats, officially being classified as a rookie, Todd Stottlemyre, who just made this final roster on Sunday, Capusano, catcher Pat Borders, and David Wells, the left-handed pitcher, also qualifies. The 4 rookies in the Jays starting lineup.
Watch Willie go.
He gets it.
He roams. If he had a strong arm, he'd be considered one of the best of all time, I believe. He runs balls down that look like they're uncatchable.
He retires Laureano twice now today. For this man, Saberhagen, it remains 2-1 Royals on Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV.
Hemlo is gold country, led by Noranda's exciting new Golden Giant mine, the lowest cost gold producer in the country. Noranda, It means mines, forests, oil and gas, manufacturing. It means new ideas, new discoveries by the 34,000 Canadians who are Noranda, a very resourceful company.
I told him, son, gas isn't just gas anymore. Today you need a gas that cleans. Why? Simple. Fuel injectors and carburetors get dirty. The new no-trouble gasoline from Esso cleans as you drive. And it's in all our pumps.
Thanks, Dad.
No trouble, son. I told him.
There's a beat in this land. It's there in all we do. That's why hands across the country reach for the blue. And when we get together, there's a taste that's green and true. That's why we come with the blue.
Labatt's Blue is Pilsner brewed for that clean, true taste.
Yeah, that's why we come with the blue. It's time to call for your pride. It's time to call for the blue.
2-1 Royals here in Kansas City on opening day 88 as we head for the Kansas City third inning. Kevin Seitzer, George Brett, and Danny Tartable, two of those three, did the damage for the 2 runs back in the first inning.
What do you think? Silvestri Campusano came within a couple of feet of making history for himself, almost with a home run opening day, first time. Last guy to do that was Will Clark in '86, San Francisco, and Al Woodsdale.
Yep.
In '77, April 7th, Campusano just missed it, hooking just to the outside of the pole.
Seitzer takes ball 1. Jimmy Key has fanned 4 today, putting up 4 hits and a pair of runs. Seitzer, of course, involved in that play at second base. Fernandez swooping down for the tag, and Steve Palermo said he didn't get him.
Ooh, that was close. That was just before Brett's home run. Tony had a ground ball to his right, where with that elbow he couldn't get anything on it. Seitzer beat it out for a base hit. Then Tony, perhaps a little slow getting over to cover. Didn't give Ernie a good chance. That's one of those where it'll go as a stolen base against the catcher unfairly. Jimmy Key held him on well. Not a good jump, and Tony just missed the tag.
But as it turned out, the way Brett hit the ball didn't matter which base he was on. He was coming home anyhow.
Well, Chevy, I had a chance to talk to Tony Fernandez when he came into the dugout, asked him if he tagged Seitzer. He says he did.
Well, that one replay that we just showed, you know, the possibility grazed one of his shoulders.
Well, all water into the bridge now after the Brett home run. Seitzer is retired.
What you'll add with Tony also is if the elbow stays tender, he'll probably, especially on the artificial surface, have to cheat. Even on dirt and grass, cheat toward the hitter to make the throw a little shorter, and that may affect his range factor as far as getting ball to the left and the right.
Interesting also because of Nelson Laureano's ongoing back spasm during training camp. These two did not have a lot of innings together in the middle of the Blue Jays infield, Fernandez and Laureano.
Their main backup middle infielder, Manny Lee, on the disabled list with a sore throwing shoulder, and from there, I don't know where you go. The depth chart next shows what, Jimmy Kelly at 17 years old?
Yeah.
Jose Escobar, the Venezuelan here. Didn't played much at a high level.
They increased program sales at Grant Field and Dunedin by about 1,000%.
Which really means I believe Pat Gillick's still got to be around looking for a backup middle infielder to send down to Syracuse. Argenis Salazar was available. The Cubs snatched him up in a hurry, and I'm sure Gillick is looking long and hard. And also perhaps a right-handed hitting catcher. They've got Sal Butera they picked up from Minnesota in case Pat Borders does struggle. So he's still working. It's just a matter they want your right arm, your left leg when they think you're desperate at a position.
It's 2-1 to Brett. Of course, Jimmy Williams knows that the Blue Jays did talk with the Mets about John Gibbons. He wound up being dealt to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Check swing foul. It is 2-2 to Brett. With one gone here in the Royals third, they lead 2-1.
A lot of controversy who the best hitter in the American League is. Some will say Boggs because of his average. Some will say Mattingly because of the power and average and doesn't strike out. I really feel that when this man's healthy, and he hasn't been for a couple of years, he's the best. Score 100 runs, have a slugging average, walk 100 times, hit for high average. Plus, he's got this big barn to hit it. He doesn't have a short fence.
Couple of hops to Liriano, and Brett is going to be retired across from Fred McGriff. 2 gone now. The irony of looking at the Major League salaries on the weekend, which were published wide and far, is that the late-hitting shortstop of the Cardinals, Ozzie Smith, makes $600,000 more than George Brett.
I'm happy for him. George Brett's got a little lengthier contract, though. That's another one of those lifetime deals, along with some real estate investments with the co-owner, Avram Fogelman, that may go on forever and make him a lot more money than maybe anybody who ever played.
There'll be no tag days for George, but there's a certain irony in how salaries get distributed and who gets paid what for whatever they do. Here's Danny Tartabull. 34 home runs last year, struck out first time up in the first inning.
An unhappy man who felt, or he was during spring training, felt he didn't get his due when they negotiated his new contract after the big home run year. So he hit about 20 of his home runs, almost 20, that either won or tied ball games for this ball club. I mean, he hit some big home runs in late game situations for Kansas City.
He can hit the ball out the opposite way, except the one man he hates to face is Tom Henke. He struck out 5 times against Henke in his 0 for 8 lifetime against him.
Well, now the league hits about 180 off Henke, so there aren't too many that do care to hit off him.
Right. In the gap, gone to the wall, and hopping up to the top of it. Sano comes in with it. He'll make the toss to third base, holding Danny Tartabull to a double.
Here's something that Camposano will have to learn, and he'll have to be helped by Cito Gaston off the bench. In a 2-out situation, in a big ballpark like this, what you want to do is you want to move back a little bit to prevent a ball from getting hit over your head, perhaps control the gaps a little bit better, concede the single in front of the line driver, the blooper, but try and take away these kinds of hits. I'm not saying you could have done it even if you played deeply, but it's something that a young outfielder's got to learn. A few outs, you back up a little bit on a power hitter. Keep him out of scoring position.
And here is Frank White, who's been the starting second baseman in Kansas City since 1976, after making his Major League debut way back in '73, 15 years ago. He goes on and on. 8 Gold Gloves, as Tony talked about, a record he established last year, and he has a strike to him now.
Well, they know now that Frank at his age on this turf, and as hot as it gets in Kansas City, they went out and got Brad Wellman. They've got Dakota, another infielder that can play in the middle, to give Frank some rest so he doesn't wear down when the hot months of August come around. John Walton, I believe, is going to use that entire 24-man roster. He's already told his starting pitchers in a meeting with them, and they're going with 4 starters now, that I'm not going to let you finish many games. We're going to use that bullpen. He thinks Quisenberry will be better with more work. He's become the closer again. A couple of bad years. He's got Ted Powers. Can pitch in long relief. Can be a closer. Bud Black.
As the 1-1 to White, it is upstairs for 2 balls and a strike. While White's power has increased the last couple of years, his .245 average last year was the lowest for him since 1976.
I'd rather have a run producer than an average hitter in most cases. And he's become a run producer. He wasn't that early in his career.
He pulls it hard. It's in the corner, and it is just foul. Just foul. They're right at the pole.
Jimmy Key looked like he got an off-speed pitch inside part of the plate.
Look at this.
This fan reached out where he almost could reach out into fair territory. This is a very cozy ballpark. Every seat in the ballpark made for baseball. Faces second base.
A souvenir of opening day off the bat of Frank White.
Didn't really see it. He wasn't looking down the line. Adrian Garrick, the third base coach, didn't argue at all. He had a better perspective. Frank was running it out. So
Frank, at the moment, not a fan of that fan. But it was in foul territory. Count is 2-2. Tartabull at second base, 2 gone. Royals lead 2-1. They've collected 5 hits off Jimmy Key so far. And White stays alive.
Jimmy Key and Ernie Witt know that they've got first base open in this 2-1 ball game with 2 out, and Balboni, who perhaps easier to strike out, but he also more likely percentage-wise to hit a long ball. I would wonder if they'd give him a strike right now. So Jimmy doesn't have the hard breaking ball. It's hard for him to throw a ball down and in and make him go after a bad pitch. That's the ball again.
Out of play. reminder what's upcoming on CTV. Coverage of the Minnesota series Saturday and Sunday next weekend. And then we'll be back in Toronto for the home opener a week from today, Monday, April the 11th on CTV. So join us for that. Last time the Jays will ever open a season at Exhibition Stadium.
This time the Royals hitter know that Jimmy Key is just about a two-pitch pitcher now. Fastball, changeup, occasional breaking ball. There's another fastball.
Stroke to Capusano, who goes way back, but has a lot of room out there still to gather it in for the third out. They strand Tartable with his double, and 3 complete now at Royal Stadium. Kansas City on top by a run. Tony coming right up on the Bats Blue Jays baseball on CTV.
Play Baseball Magic at your A&P, Super Dominion, and Super Fresh stores in Ontario. Win one of 80 trips for 2 to Orlando, home of Walt Disney World Resort. Win up to $10,000 instantly. Over 150,000 available prizes. All trips provided by Treasure Tours, a world of vacations. This week's Baseball Magic features, if you've always insisted on quality, value, and good taste in tuna, you should be serving Cloverleaf. Kraft Peanut Butter is the peanut butter with the peanuttiest taste.
Right now, Toronto Hamilton Toyota dealers are practicing the Stickmore theory of relativity. And here's how it works. Stick more options and accessories on a Toyota truck and expect a special deal. Add, for example, mag wheels, air conditioning, chrome bumper, AM/FM radio. But you'd better hurry, because this theory won't last long. The Stickmore theory of relativity. It's all relative to the best deal you can make.
The fun bunch are giving you more Toyota.
You could win a trip to the Indy 500 during Goodyear's big event sale. Get fabulous savings on all-season high-performance radials. Save on our lowest price performance radials. Our best all-season radials. And our lowest priced all-season radials. Remember the Indy 500 contest and hurry to your participating Goodyear retailer. The big event sale ends soon.
Goodyear takes you home.
The Harry S. Truman Sports Complex, Royal Stadium in America's heartland, Kansas City for opening day. Fergie Albert, Don Chevrier, Tony Kubek, our special guest in the booth, former Royals, Brewers, Blue Jays catcher Buck Martinez. Right here in his home territory, preparing for future Blue Jays games. 2-1. Brett with a 2-run home run after Seitzer singled, stole, and George Bell, first pitch in regular season action, a home run to left field off Saberhagen. Foul back. Saberhagen with a good fastball today has been able to move it in and out.
It seems like Saberhagen's been around forever, but he is still a week shy of his 24th birthday. As a matter of fact, to put it in perspective, he is 16 months younger than Bo Jackson. If you think Jackson's a kid just coming up. Jackson's 25.
A ball and a strike, says home plate umpire Davey Phillips. You don't see too many young pitchers, and Saberhagen had this when he was 20 years old, having the great straight change and that kind of control that he has with his fastball, that he can just, the catcher can sit on the outside corner and he can hit it consistently. Comes inside on Mosby. 2 balls and a strike. Blue Jays with just 1 base hit. That was George Bell's home run.
Saberhagen had a great first half of the season, capping it with that win over Jimmy Key in Toronto in July. Then he struggled in the second half. He lost 4 in a row after the All-Star break.
2-2. After that great Rookie of the Year season by Saberhagen, he admitted he got a little goofy, as he said, thought it was too easy. His work habits became a little careless in them. He's a lot bigger kid now. He had about 175 that first year. Off-speed chip chopped down. It may be close. Balboni. Air will be charged to Steve Balboni as Mosby leads off the 4th for the Blue Jays. Don't know if that ball had a little tricky hop or spin going from the turf to the dirt.
Looked like it did. It caught the dirt and acted strangely. Let's have a look.
And then Brett Saberhagen, who perhaps thought that Balboni was going to take it himself, may have been a little late getting over. Lloyd with the speed hustles all the way out of the batter's box. Nah, it just took a hop that was too good. Chest high.
A little higher than he bargained for.
So Balbona, who made an outstanding play on Camposano for the second out and the third, robbing him of a double going to his left, now makes an error. They will test the arm of Mike McFarlane and Saberhagen's delivery. The plethora of balks being called in spring training. It'll be interesting to see how the balk rule is enforced now that the regular season has begun. Too high. McFarlane, as we told you, arm still not up to full strength coming off the shoulder surgery.
Supposedly, the strike zone has been expanded, and also supposedly, the pitcher will be ejected if the umpire thinks he's throwing at a hitter with no prior warning. He can turf him right out. Those are the 3 changes to look for in 88. The box were as frequent as the oranges in Florida.
2 balls, no strikes. The 3-hitter in the Blue Jays lineup, Tony Fernandez.
Looking at a man at first base who stole 39 bases last year, Mosby.
And some feel with a supposed lesser workload defensively in left field, and I don't buy that, and he might steal even more. Left field at times can be tougher to play than center field. There he goes. Fouled off out of play. Lloyd had a good jump.
Lloyd also is a member of a very select club. He's one of only 8 players in all of Major League history who for 7 years in a row has maintained his home run level or increased it over those 7 years. 26 of them last year. His numbers have not declined in power.
Tony Fernandez grounded back to Saberhagen on a changeup back in the first inning. 2-1 ball game. Royals, Brett's 2-run home run. Lloyd with not a real big lead. Read or saw or listened to any of the ball games from spring training. Balks were being called left and right. It's really not a new rule. It's always been there. It's never been enforced. Some call it the Whitey Herzog rule for his speedsters over in St. Louis. He said that Bert Blyleven in the World Series last year balked 19 times and was never called because he never came to the stop. So they changed one word in the rule. Pitcher must come to a discernible stop now. But the rule and the instructions of the umpires always said that the pitcher must come to a stop with the front foot on the ground. Some pitchers began to cheat. They were stopping with their hand, but their front foot was already going toward home plate to deceive the runner. There'll be some stolen base records broken this year. Fly ball, left field. Bo Jackson got a slow start, lost it in the sun. With that speed, he recovers, and he's got it. Mosby will go back to first base. 2 outs. Jackson was frozen by the sun when the ball went up down the left field line, and then he picked it up.
The designated hitter,
The fan phone vote brought to you by Xerox Canada.
Yeah, there's the question.
Would you have traded George Bell during spring training? Cost you 50 cents to make those phone calls. You got my opinion. I'd never trade George Bell. I'd never make George Bell the DH, not for a full season. I think George needs to play about 100 games in left field to keep the legs toned, to keep his mind, keep physically in the ball game.
I know one thing. I never would trade him for 36-year-old Dave Winfield, as great as Winfield is. Not giving up a 28-year-old for a 36-year-old doesn't make sense.
Well, I always feel if George Bell is going to hurt himself, it's going to be something, or hurt the knee again, be something offensively. Swinging the bat, catching the cleats, sliding. He's not a very good slider, as we know. He already fractured his leg seriously. Running the bases, cutting the bag.
Of course, the other side of the question, which is a valid one, would you trade him, is how could his outburst affect a team? On the negative side, what could it do to team spirit and team morale if he's not happy and others aren't happy as a result?
And what trade value does George have, really, when he's got about a $6 million deal and you're telling the National League that he either can't play because of his injury or can't play because of his ability in left field? Who's going to take it? Take a $6 million deal.
Well, the ad club might say, well, that's your opinion. He's not ideal for left field. We don't think so. Of course, George doesn't think so.
I don't either. George Bell's better than an average left fielder. Just look at his throwing. Yeah, there are times the knee gets sore. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out. Fouled off by Bell. Out of play, 1 and 2 with 1 out. George at the first pitch in the second for a home run off Saberhagen to cut the lead to 2-1 Royals.
The worst part of this whole thing, I think, was the timing of it. You can debate it for hours whether he should be a DH or left fielder or whatever, but the timing means that Blue Jays weren't really given a chance to put 87 behind them the end of last season to regain their confidence and get back to their winning ways. That's what's unfortunate.
Breaking ball, left field corner, but it should hook foul. Off-speed pitch that had George fooled, but to show you his uncanny bat control, as much as he was fooled, he decelerated the bat speed and somehow kept himself alive. There are the phone numbers again. Would you have traded George Bell during spring training? A yes or a no? There are the numbers to call.
50 cents a call.
And once again, we get a free opinion without having to put our 50 cents worth up.
But Tony's honest, folks. He's got a jar at home, and every night after a telecast, he goes home, puts the 2 quarters in.
That's right. 2 quarters that I saved for not casting the vote. 2-2 now with Mosby on first. Breaking ball, left center field. Wilson gets a slow start. That ball is
another one.
Gone. George Bell, consecutive home runs. 3-2 Toronto. Is he a strong man, or is the ball still too stuck? This park hasn't gotten any smaller, but he was fooled and hit it out to left center field with one hand.
If he's unhappy, it sure isn't hurting his home run production.
Anybody that thinks that any kind of major league player, and I specifically mean George Bell, a hanging breaking ball, but George stuck with it and drilled it out of here. Players get in the batter's box, you're thinking of one thing, hitting 300 or hitting a lot of home runs or getting a base hit. They're not thinking about any kind of turmoil that's long since passed and spring training's over. It may resurface.
It is now 8 career home runs, the most by any Blue Jay in history for George Bell in Kansas City.
Rance Mullix fly to center field in the second. The Jays with just 2 base hits. They've got 3 runs, 2 home runs by Bell. It's going to drop. Mullix will get at least 2. He's standing up at second base.
And if Bo Jackson can't get to it, you know Rance hit it in a perfect spot.
This is a ballpark where the gaps are so huge in left and right center field that most defensive alignments on the turf, they will say, give them the 2 foul lines, left and right field, but protect the gaps. Give them a double down the line, but protect against a triple. That's why you'll see a lot of doubles in this park. Fergie?
I just wanted to say, Tony, you notice how George Bell, when he came into the dugout, he just kept right on going, right up the tunnel, right back into the clubhouse. He's probably watching our telecast right now, but he didn't stay around for the accolades or anything else. He went straight up, back into the clubhouse.
You know, George has talked to a lot of hitters, a strike to Ernie Witt, about what they do, and Hal McRae, who was a premier designated hitter, and Don Baylor, both of them have said to him, look, you've got to keep yourself in the ballgame in your mind. You've got to keep yourself loose while the team is playing defensively, and you're just hitting now. And especially with all those things, you've got to go up to the TV monitor and watch the pitcher's pattern from this camera to see how he's pitching hitters, what his ball is moving. Is it sinking? Is it tailing away? Is it cutting in on your fist? And that's what George is doing. He's keeping himself active. Karl Yastrzemski, when he DH'd, would go up and hit a taped ball up in the clubhouse. Some hit off a batting tee.
Yeah, the role does demand you develop a hobby.
Yeah, you've got to develop really a routine aside from a hobby.
Yep.
Ernie Witt popped out in the second. 2 balls to strike, 1 out with a veteran Rance Mullix down at second base, perhaps trying to flash at least location of pitches as he looks in at young Mike McFarlane, the catcher. Base hit. Mullix should score on Wilson's arm. Milt McLaren holds him up. Rance didn't get a good jump off second base. He froze for just a second, so McFarlane with Wilson getting on that ball in a hurry, even though he has a weak arm. Besides, with 1 out, Jesse coming up to make it first and third. As McLaren didn't take a chance on Willie Wilson's arm, but with a bad jump by Mullix, he decided not to. First and third, 1 out. Barfield, who struck out in the second. Jesse should be thinking one thing with 1 out, get a pitch I can drive deep to the outfield. I think he got enough of it. They're tagging up at both bases. Wilson will not have a play at home. Mulnix will score the 4th run for Toronto. They lead it 4-2. Sacrifice fly, no time at bat for Barfield, so he does his job. Ernie went wisely, tags up at first base, had Wilson uncorked to throw home. Wiley missing a cutoff man. Ernie would have kept on going to second. Wilson wisely just threw it back into second base. Now it's Fred McGriff. Freddie struck out in the 3rd. Strike.
75 degrees and a light wind at game time, probably up around 80 degrees Fahrenheit right now. Just a delightful day in Kansas City.
Warmest home opener for Kansas City was 84 degrees. That was for a night ball game. And I believe the Blue Jays were here for the coldest. Temperature right around 39. And by the time that game was over, as I recall, I think it was a 2-1 game. Bud Black against
Dave Stieb. 85. That's right.
Temperature was like 29 degrees by the time that game ended. That's how warm it is.
Florida-looking crowd here. I think we're still back in spring training.
Change up. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Fred McGriff.
The Jays have opened 4 times at Royal Stadium. Toronto last won in 86, 6-2. They lost that 2-1 game Tony talked about in 85. And Kansas City trounced them 11-1 back in 1979. The Jays do not usually fare well opening away from home.
Blue Jays didn't win a game here last season. They are leading this ball game as we go to the bottom of the 4th. 4-2, 2 George Bell home runs. Saberhagen leaves a little bit disconsolate. You're watching the Bats Blue Jays baseball on CTV.
Who made Royal LePage Canada's #1 name in real estate?
You know.
You did.
You know.
Because you know what our people can do.
You know. Yes, you know what our people can do for you.
So many Canadians put their trust in our professionals.
You know.
Royal LePage sells a home every 9 minutes, every day of the year.
You know. Yes, you know that it's true. What our people can do. You know.
Royal LePage, you made us #1.
You know what our people can do.
Can your motor oil take the heat? When today's engines reach high running temperatures, motor oil can thin out, break down, and leave engine surfaces unprotected. But Castrol XLR has been engineered to maintain a lubricating film, even at extreme engine temperatures. At Castrol, we believe if you can't take the heat, get out of the engine. Castrol XLR, the oil engineered for today's cars. Look for Castrol XLR at these leading retailers.
Just for fun.
Canada's top skiers take aim at national titles in the Export A Ski Series, Saturdays, only on CTV's Wide World of Sports.
Adrian Garrett, coach for Omaha, and John Wathan, the AAA franchise. He moves up along with John Wathan. He takes over the manager job last year. Bob Schaefer also has managed AA level in the Royals organization. So it's a new look Royals from their coaching staff. Their manager, Kurt Stillwell. Floyd Bannister, the pitcher they acquired from the White Sox. Ted Power. Steve Balboni leads off the 4th. George Bell has 2 home runs. He'll be followed by Bo Jackson and then Mike McFarlane. Balboni perhaps opened the gates with his air leading off the 4th on Mosby. Fouled out of play.
Well, he had to make the team, as you alluded to earlier, again this year. And last year, they weren't even sure with his problems with that disc that acted up in his back whether he could make half the season. He had a qualifying clause in his contract that he had to be there on July the 1st to get a certain amount of money. He made it.
Occasionally, the sun is winning the fight with these clouds here and pops out. And so Tony Fernandez wants the sunglasses. It's cloudy last inning. Now it fights its way through again. The To use a fight kind of analogy, I thought I would, because you've been bounding around the country doing some boxing matches for ABC, ESPN.
You talk about punch drunk, here I am.
Foul off again by Balboni. 3 home runs in the ball game. Brett, a 2-run shot. Bal, solo home run and a 2-run home run. 4-2 Blue Jays. Changeup. Fools Balboni. Molix to McGriff. 1 out. Fergie.
Bo Jackson, the fans here in Kansas City really got on you last year after it was announced you're going to play football. What do you think the crowd reaction will be this year?
Well, I think in '88, in order for us to win a whole lot of games, over 100 games, I think our fans are going to have to be our 10th player and they got to be with us through thick and thin and just be that 10th man to give us the edge over the other team.
You think they'll be...
Well, when Bo Jackson was introduced, we apologize for a little technical problem. You got the gist of what Bo was saying, but there was an overwhelming ovation for Bo Jackson when the team was introduced and they charged out to the first base line. In fact, there's almost been a PR campaign by this team. Willie Wilson saying we really treated him unfairly. He was kind of an outsider. And yes, he was a little cocky. Yes, he was new to the team, didn't get minor league experience or much of it, and we really didn't come to his rescue. George Fred has talked about his work habits, as have the coaching staff and John Wathan. So they've really, all spring training, sent the message back up here that they hope the fans treat Bo a lot better than they have so far. 1-1. Right field. Barfield better hurry. It is going to be over his head. The ball took off on him. Bo will go for 2 and stand up. Jesse was fooled on that ball. It looked like Jackson just waved at a fastball tailing away, and they are having difficulty, not just with the sun, but this opening day. We've shown you all the white-shirted background, and the outfielders are getting, when the sun is out, bad jumps on the ball. We've seen it with Jackson a couple of times. That'll show you how strong he is, as the ball looked like a tee shot, a 1-iron, going over Barfield's head in right field. So 1 out, Jackson down at second base.
So Bo battles his way onto the team, and there was no coincidence last year. You talked about his signing with the Raiders. After the announcement, he hit only 193 with only 4 home runs. He really tailed off. Strikeouts soared out of sight.
A man who was last year of college, was ineligible to play baseball, played very little time in the minor leagues. Spent some time at one of the corner, Mr. Evan Fogelman's franchise.
In fact, the Auburn baseball season is very short anyway. They don't play many games.
1 out, 4-2 Blue Jays. Backdoor breaking ball to rookie Mike McFarlane. I'll never forget that Monday Night Football game against Seattle when he ran for over 200 yards.
Ran right through the box.
He ran away from people, and then he just took Brian Bosworth, who was somewhat of a behemoth, and just knocked him back 6 yards and ran all over him.
Somewhat of a behemoth, you might say, yes.
I mean, I think it was Al Michaels, as we look at Jackson again, made the comment that Bo Jackson made the opposition team, Seattle, look like a bunch of kids trying to catch him. And that's what he made him look like. That's how much talent Jackson had.
That was a 221-yard game that you talked about. The same game he set an NFL season high with a 91-yard dash. 2 strikes, 1 out. 4-2 ball game. Jays lead it. McFarlane doubled in the second. Now out of play. You know, after the 260 innings last year, 260 plus to Jimmy Key, we told you earlier that during the offseason they found with some sophisticated testing, I believe it's a Cybex machine they use, that his shoulder was very weak. I heard it percent like 60% weaker than it should have been, so they tried to strengthen it. It'll be interesting to see if Jimmy Key will have enough stuff on that fastball inside part of the plate, which became a very big pitch for him, moving right-handed hitters off this season. Or if he left some of that, there's the pitch right there, a little cut fastball or slider. But if he doesn't get that back, he can control the outer edge of the plate with a sinker, the running fastball, and the changeup. But if he can't partially control, like Charlie Leibrandt does, the inside half of the plate on right-handers, he could have trouble this year. We'll see if the arm strength will come completely back.
1-2. Two balls, 2 strikes. He misses with an off-speed pitch.
And there's Rance Molyneux trying to run down a big black balloon.
This makes a lot of friends right here. Although that is a little more subtle than Bob Stanley in Boston, who gets the big rake out and mashes the balloon in the bullpen.
Yeah, Rance took care of the job very efficiently, and let's get back to the game.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. Something umpires aren't letting hitters do very much this year. That's one of the emphasis, to speed up games, prevent hitters from getting out of the batter's box unless they swing. It would appear that Phillips was going to give time to McFarlane so he could step out. Full count now from Jimmy Key. The Royals were last in runs scored in the American League last season. Not have a very high on base average. Didn't take many walks. Full count pitch. Fly ball, right field corner. Barfie's going to have to hurry. He's got it. Jackson will now come back and tag up. He's going to try it. Here comes the relay. Fernandez can't handle it. Jackson went about halfway. Then when he saw Barfield getting under it, he went back to tag up, and his speed beats the relay. So there are 2 outs for Kurt Stillwell, the number 9 hitter. Situation with the 9th place hitter up. 2 outs, but at the corners with a bat control guy like Stillwell, you've still got to be a little bit alert, if you're at third base especially, of him trying to beat out a bunt and score the run. Because Jimmy Key, one of the best fielders in the league, it's tough to bunt on. He just looked over at Rance, and Rance said, yeah, he nodded. He's going to be creeping in when the pitch comes on the way. Just got to be careful for a short pass ball with Jackson's speed at third. A strike, breaking ball. Two outs, 1 strike. Popped up. Liriano with a battle of the sun, called off by Barfield, who's got it. So Jimmy Key pitches out of a little mini jam with a runner on second base with only 1 out. 4 gone here in Royal Stadium on a beautiful opening day with the Jays leading it 4-2. George Bell with 2 HRs. You're watching the Bats Blue Jays baseball on CTV.
Honda would like to show you something you've never seen before. 4-wheel steering. 4-wheel steering from Honda. Only on the new Prelude SI. It's an incredible turn of events.
The town of Cornerburg has produced many sons and daughters of which it can be justly proud. Morning, ladies. Foremost, however, is Wendy. For it was she who founded a chain of restaurants based on the principle of fresh ground beef served hot off the grill to make hot and juicy hamburgers for all. This principle has made Wendy and her hamburgers a legend throughout the Dominion of Canada. Wendy, Cornerburg salutes you.
Legendary hamburgers. That's Wendy's way.
There's no doubt about it. Hello? Yeah, it's right here. Just a sec. Hello? Is that the burner?
Bob's making popcorn.
You hit the jackpot. I got a crew right here. Hang on. There's a DC-9 with hydraulic problems in New York. Any takers? We can just get the last flight out. We're on it. We'll be there. It's going my way. I don't understand it. It's not that bad.
Giving your best is a full-time job.
The little Dominican, Silvestre Camposano, will lead off the 5th against Brett Saberhagen. Jays leading by 2 runs. What was that all about? Ball 1. First time up, Camposano hit a ball rather sharply down the line that Balboni got. Chop foul. 1-1.
That was after just missing home run in his first at bat with the Blue Jays by inches.
No, Silvestre Camposano is not from San Pedro de Macorís, Tony's hometown or George's hometown. Breaking ball hangs inside. He's from a little town called Boca Chica, which is right outside Santo Domingo. A good-looking young prospect. Going to be a tough play for Stillwell. Sweeps off his glove. Camposano's going to try for two with that speed. He ran hard out of the batter's box and got himself a double, I believe.
Pretty alert play. He saw Jackson sort of just ambling over toward the ball off the glove of Stillwell, conceding the base hit. He says, thanks very much. I'll take two. Watch Bull right here. You can see him, or you don't, but he's very casual in his approach to the ball.
He was playing deeply and toward left center field for Camposano, and Camposano made that double. Or did they give an error to somebody? No, they didn't give an error. No. That error goes to Balboni earlier. They're in at the corners for Nelson Liriano. If Liriano can become the leadoff hitter on this ball club, he's going to solve a lot of problems for this offense. If he struggles a little bit, as we look at Seitzer in tight, as is Balboni, you end up either having to move Tony Fernandez back to first, which you do not want to do, or putting Lloyd Moseby. The nice bunt by Liriano advances the runner Camposano. White gets the put out, but now the infield perhaps will have to come in, even though we're only in the fifth. The last player of the game for Toronto will receive the new compact Canon Sure Shot Multi-Tele with the auto-retractable wide and tele-auto-focus lenses. This fully automatic camera, loaded with extras, is available now. The Canon Sure Shot Multi-Tele. This baby is loaded with so many extras, we haven't even told you all about it. We've only told you about 30 or 40 in that little brief thing right there.
Hey, I'm here all day. Tell me some more.
We're talking extras. The Blue Jays try to tack on an extra run right now. Moseby up in the infield, in one out. Popped it up. Stillwell. This will not score him. Lloyd jumped on a high fastball. Didn't get around, as they say in the jargon of the pitcher's fraternity. Saberhagen got into Lloyd Moseby's kitchen. Didn't get around and didn't get the run home. Now let's see if Tony Fernandez can.
The shortstop, Tony Fernandez.
Liriano will be given a sacrifice, even though he was kind of trying to beat it out also by dragging the ball to the right side. Fernandez is grounded out and fly to left. They're still tight at the corners in case he tries to butt his way on and score the run. Nice play by McFarlane, prevented it from going to the backstop. Saberhagen pitching from the stretch so that Camposano cannot get quite as big a lead. Blue Jays 4 runs, 5 hits, no errors. The Royals 2 runs, 6 hits, 1 error. There are 2 outs, a 1-0 count on Fernandez. Right on the outer edge, or was it? No, 2-0. It looked close. McFarlane turns a little bit on the home plate umpire, Davey Phillips. Perhaps thought he missed it. Dave Phillips, St. Louis area. Deep to right center field, Willie Wilson goes near the warning track. About 390 feet away, but it's a long out in this ballpark. So the Jays leave Camposano stranded on third base after a leadoff double. We'll go to the bottom of the fifth. 4-2 Blue Jays. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV.
Last season, Cooper bats were a very big hit in the major leagues.
Tony Fernandez digs in. A swing and a drive. He's hit it hard to right field.
This year, Cooper gloves are a great catch in the majors, in Cooper styles and Cooper models. Now, Canada's best-selling gloves are making a name in the majors. And what Cooper did at the plate, they'll do in the field.
To left field. Here comes Raines coming hard. He dives. What a catch. A sensational catch.
Most people fish to relax. But with me, it's different. See, that's my office out there.
When the fish are running, well, my equipment's got to run smoothly, too. So I use quality SO oils. And in this baby, only Protect. That's the best engine protection around. When I come home to relax, I want to leave the office behind.
The difference between finding the perfect home and getting it could be right in your pocket.
You need to know what you can afford before you start shopping for a home. With a CIBC pre-approved mortgage, you do.
I'll arrange a flexible payment schedule for you to help you plan your budget in advance. And you're even protected while you're looking. This guarantees your interest rate for 60 full days. It's almost like money in your pocket. Come and see me for details.
Get us working for you, CIBC.
The Blue Jays pitching staff is striking out more than opposing batters. This year, we're all working together to help strike out Crohn's disease and colitis. You can help too. Please contact your local CFIC office.
It's been a wonderful program. Our own Fergie Albert kind of highlighting that program along with Blue Jays players, pitching staff specifically, but don't forget the Blue Jays wives. They've contributed a lot. Jimmy Key will face Willie Wilson, Kevin Seitzer, and George Brett as he goes to the mound in the bottom of the fifth with a 4-2 lead. Key better hurry. Out. Jimmy twisted his ankle. Jimmy may have twisted his ankle, caught his cleats or his rubber-soled shoes when he tried to pivot to get Wilson. Wasn't going to get him. But coming off those dirt and grass fields in Florida and out in Denver, he tried to push off the foot. Looked like the ankle turned just a little bit. Look at the left ankle. Couldn't really see it that much. Or was it a calf muscle? Jimmy Key shows you the kind of fielder he is. He bounded off. It is not a perfect bunt, but for Willie Wilson, it doesn't have to be perfect. Looks like he is gingerly with Tommy Craig out, the Blue Jays trainer, and Jimmy Williams stepping on his right ankle. We will only speculate now whether it's an ankle or a calf muscle. But he wasn't going to get Wilson anyway, I don't think. He'd had to make the perfect play. So Wilson's on, leading off the fifth. Jimmy will try and get a couple of throws in under the watchful eye of Tommy Craig and Jimmy Williams. Looked like his right ankle to you, Don?
Yeah, it did.
If it is, it's the critical one for a left-handed pitcher, the one that is his pivot foot. He pushes off, of course, with the left foot, lands on the slope of the mound with his right foot, and then when he comes to his follow-through, many times you pivot on that foot, you transfer your weight all the time, and if it stiffens up, you can injure it even more. He says he's okay.
Yep, gonna hang in there. Didn't look good, though, when it happened, did it?
Kevin Seitzer.
Well, football players have complained, and baseball players, too, the pounding they take on the artificial surface. Football Players Association done studies saying that their ankle injuries, knee injuries, lower back, and shoulder separations. A lot of players don't like to run or do their extra running on the artificial surface. Jimmy appears to be all right. Wilson's on. Kevin Seitzer. He has single, stolen a base, and scored a run. He almost had it. He had Wilson going the other way. Let us see now how closely Vic Voltaggio, the first base umpire, watches not only the stop, the discernible stop by Jimmy Key, but also what he's going to do with that front foot. Jimmy was called for a balk or two, not down in spring training as most pitchers were.
He made a very deliberate stoppage right there. I mean, it was not exactly like you'd roll through a stop sign. He's looking at the umpire. He says, see this? I've stopped.
Well, Vince Coleman of the Cardinals has all but said that he doesn't, and he always had difficulty against left-handed pitchers. He said now that they have to stop and can't ride right into their delivery home, he said, I don't think they can get me at all now. We'll see. You look at the Cardinals team that is built on speed. Heck, their first three guys in the lineup might steal over 200 bases. Coleman, Smith, and a healthy Willie McGee.
This man has stolen 529 in his career, 59 of them last year.
John Wathan wants him to run more, but Jimmy Key is a tough man to run on. 2 balls, no strikes. He's going. Fouled off. Seitzer with great bat control is one of the best around at being able to hit the ball the opposite way. Seitzer last season had a 6-for-6 day with 7 RBIs and 2 home runs in this ballpark. He's hit 300 almost every place he's been.
First rookie in the American League since Tony Oliva back in '64. He got over 200 hits. Oliva had 217.
2-1, a strange count to be running out for Wilson against a left-hander. 2-0 with your team down by 2 runs. Blue Jays lead 4-2. But that's Wathan-style baseball. They're calling it Dookie ball. Remember Billy Ball, Oakland?
Yeah.
Dookie ball, that's Wathan's nickname, Duke. He looks and acts like John Wayne.
Whatever it takes to get more runs here in Kansas City, he'll try it.
Two and one count once more. A little different look from Jimmy Key. John Wathan.
There aren't many you can say what he can claim, and that is, I spent my entire pro career in a Royals uniform, and he remains there as a manager.
Broke a record for stolen base for a catcher. Big Ray Schalk had that record. It happens so often when that left-handed pitcher is worried about a potential base stealer, where you'll ride the fastball up and away. He's kind of halfway between looking at the runner and looking at the hitter, and he doesn't really complete his follow-through. 3 balls and a strike with nobody out. Some think Seitzer might be a better leadoff hitter than Wilson because of his base hits and on-base average. He went after a bad pitch. Looked like ball 4. Now it goes 3-2, so Jimmy Key got a little bit of a break.
Seitzer second to Mark McGwire in battling for Rookie of the Year honors.
And again, last year there were some good ones. Alice Burks up there. Devon White out in California. Burks, of course, with Boston, will not open this season. Brady Anderson will, a good-looking prospect, fouled out of play in the seats with Willie Wilson going on the full count pitch.
You just never know about the draft because you go back to the '83 draft in June, and Kevin Seitzer was only an 11th round choice.
Well, he was kind of a skinny kid who didn't have a whole lot of power. Doesn't have a good throwing arm, unlikely third baseman. You look for the strong arm. Not good running speed. All he does, as we said, is hit over 300 everywhere he goes and has tremendous bat control. Wilson not going this time. It did not appear. Seitzer started last season in spring training, played some left field, and then he was going to be the first baseman, and he ended up with Brett moving to first, and he's ended up, looks like he's entrenched at third base now.
He was below 301 day, June the 14th last year, and that is all.
Jimmy Key tries to do, if you recall from the last couple of seasons with an excellent move, is cheat with his front foot. The front foot he will try and toy with. Once a left-handed pitcher takes the front foot toward the outfield side of the back of the rubber, he's got to go home. So Jimmy will cheat with the right knee in the foot. Ball 4. Once again, worried about that runner Wilson. He runs the ball up and away. So there are 2 men on and nobody out for that man, George Brett. Whitmire, Al, of course, the old curmudgeon. His staff led the American League in ERA last year. The Royals were second. Jimmy will return in this season. Doesn't want to push Jimmy Key too far. Blue Jays have 2 men out of the bullpen, and Jimmy Williams is asking right now, down to Johnny Sullivan, who's on the other end of the phone, are either of the 2 ready? In case we get into further trouble and we're going to get taken out of this ball game in a hurry. Breaking ball strike to George Brett. 2 on, nobody out. 2-run lead for the Blue Jays. 2 men working for the Toronto Blue Jays in the pen. David Wells and Mark Eichhorn. Wells, of course, the brilliant rookie who was so great last September. 1 strike to Brett with 2 on. Chop foul.
The one guy Bo Jackson could pattern himself after, and a lot of people could for that matter, is George Brett. Brett has never struck out, Tony, more than 51 times in a season.
Incredible guys like this, and Don Mattingly, who hit for power and still rarely strike out, for that matter. A couple of years ago, George Bell struck out just over 40 times. Last year, going for more home runs, hitting for more power, he struck out more, but still, tremendous bat control.
Great eyes.
Breaking ball, chopped to Freddie McGriff. He will only get 1 as the runners advance. That's something that you don't realize, a about a George Brett. And some people say, well, strikeouts are overrated. Who cares if the guy strikes out 150 times? Right there, Brett strikes out. He doesn't move guys up. Right. Moving base runners, putting the ball in play. And that's all part of the John Wathan game plan. Brett cut down his swing, took to look like a tough breaking ball, but put the ball in play and the runners advance.
He contributes even though he's gone. Yeah.
So what happens is the pitching pattern has to change to certain hitters. Tarnable in this case with first base open. Brett said he's not going to play conservatively this year. He said, I've gone through so many injuries trying to be careful, I got overly cautious. Infield will play back, of course.
He turns 35 next month.
Tarnable is doubled and struck out. Popped up, should go out of play. It does. Brett, in the first inning, after Seitzer beat out an infield single, hit a 2-run home run to give the Royals a 2-0 lead. Leading off the second, George Bell hit the first pitch in championship competition for a home run off Saberhagen. Cut it to 2-1. Then Brett, after an error by Balboni, Mosby's on, Fernandez flied out. Bell, a 2-run home run, making a 3-2 lead. Then Mullick's double, Witt single, Barfield sacrifice fly. That's how it stands, 4-2 Toronto.
Twins will be in Toronto on the 15th, 16th, and 17th. To know that 3-game series, if you're in the Toronto area.
World's Championship Minnesota Twins, with it looks like a healthy Charlie Lee, formerly of Montreal, who's throwing the ball well and could help their staff. A little high, 1-1.
We'll get a look at the Twins this coming weekend in Minnesota. Action on CTV Saturday and Sunday for you.
Well, it appears now that Todd Stottlemyre, who made the staff pitch so well in spring against the Twins, one of the teams, appears he may be the starting pitcher on that Sunday ball game. It appears. 2-1 down to Tarnable. So Jimmy Key getting behind the cleanup hitter. Todd Stottlemyre, brother Mel Jr. in the Kansas City Royals organization, sent down for their AAA franchise Pops, of course. Mel, the pitching coach for the Mets, some people feel are unbeatable. Said that a lot. Some teams fouled off.
As you know, the decision for the final spot of the roster came down to Stottlemyre and Bob Shirley, and the veteran Shirley, left-hander, had really impressed during spring training. A tough call for the Jays, but Stottlemyre makes it as a starter.
Well, Pat Gillick, and to me, I think Gillick was kind of letting Todd, not putting pressure on him right till the end, but I think Gillick knows, being a former pitcher, that a right-handed pitcher against the Minnesota Twins with all the right-handed power, instead of Cerruti, no knock at Cerruti, he's going to win his ball games this year. There's a trade involved, but Stottlemyre's the guy who should pitch against that staff. He'll get 2 starts. Mullick's battling the sun. You can hear the Blue Jays coming out to help Rick Leach and yelling that he's all right. Another reason why this is a good pitcher's ballpark, not just the dimensions, which are very long in center, right center, but a lot of room from the foul line to the dugout. In Exhibition Stadium, in most ballparks, that pop-up would have gone in the seat. The hitter gets another shot. A lot more pressure to pitcher. Right now, they catch it, and Jimmy Key a little closer, 1 out closer to pitching out of this situation. 2 outs, 2 out. First base open for Frank White. Jays with a 2-run lead. White is singled and flied out. Right on the outer edge. Campusano continues to play a shallow center field. Nothing prettier than seeing a center fielder who can do that and get back on a ball near the fence. Campy can. 1-1. Strike to Frank White.
In his 15th Major League season.
You know, we touched on what the supposed collapse by the Blue Jays at the end of the last season, when they had the 3.5-game lead and lost their last 7. And yet, how can you call it a collapse when you saw the games that Flanagan and Key pitched in that final series in Detroit. He got it inside on him. White may have gone after a bad pitch. Lloyd Mosby, jmkir pitches out of it. There were runners at second and third with just one out, and Key may have thrown his last pitch. We'll see if he comes out for the sixth. He's had a big pitch build-up through 5 innings. 4-2, Blue Jays. You're watching Levax. Blue Jays baseball on CTV.
If you haven't the foggiest about your financial future, see the manufacturers. Our worldwide success gives us a broader perspective, which gives you a clearer vision of your future.
With Mustang, the best-selling sporty car in Canada. With Taurus, this show-stopping award winner. And with Tracer, Ford's best-selling import. With Bronco 2, rough freewheeling fun at its best.
Turn on the quality with Ford and turn on the mood. At Ford, quality is job one. People always look you in the eye. They listen when you talk. They know that you mean business. They can tell by the way you are. And when your goose gets hungry, you know just what to do. You pop the top of your favorite beer. This bug's for you. From a bird, you know where you stand. From a bird, you're a genuine bird man.
Does your financial future feel out of control? Get a hold of the manufacturers and get some of the brightest minds in the financial industry to help you see your future and keep it under control.
There's your score at Royal Stadium with Saberhagen taking the mound against the Blue Jays. 4-2. George Bell has driven in 3 runs. Barfield won with a sacrifice fly. The quiz, Dan Quisenberry, who John Walton says, you are my closer again like you were a couple of years ago. Till you show me you can't do the job. 1 ball to Bell. Breaking ball. George way out in front, 1-1. There have been some great opening day players in the history of the game. I'm sure you've got a lot of them in your scrapbooks or memory. Too many. Other than Babe Ruth, Ted Williams. George Bell may have another base hit on the fist. Bo Jackson in the corner, he's got it. Saberhagen got a fastball in on the fist of George Bell. So they finally get him out after 2 consecutive home runs. Interesting thing, Babe Ruth in 18 opening day games hit .422 with 7 home runs. 5 doubles. And the thing about the Babe is, his first 3 opening days, he also was the winning pitcher.
Yeah, back in those days.
Then they converted him to a hitter. Just think if there had been a DH, they may have never found out Babe Ruth could hit, huh?
And there was Doug Auld, who made a whole career out of one opening day in Toronto.
Fastball. Wilson battling the sun again with Bo Jackson coming over. Look out, folks. Bo just barely backs off. And Willie said, yeah, pal, that's boy. Don't do to me what you did to Rick Dempsey at that whole collision. Bo finished off Rick Dempsey's season when he was with Cleveland last year. Dempsey says the best things ever happened to him. He
did him a favor, yeah.
Got picked up by the Dodgers this year. He just kept battling until the ball came out of the sun, and then he tries to avoid Jackson and does a little old lane. I'm sure Willie was thinking of Brian Bosworth, saying, oh no, not me too, please. 2 outs. Saberhagen jumps ahead of Ernie Wick. Popped out and singled. 1 strike.
Well, yelling at Bo, no, it's baseball, Bo, it's baseball.
Change up. 0-2. Make it 0-2. I get letters from teachers and grammarians saying 0-2, even though it's baseball talk, is not a numerical.
Well, when you give your phone number, you don't say 832-045.
I'm just,
do you?
Talking about fanatical grammarians, and they're right.
8-3-2-0.
So the count no longer 0-2. It's 1 ball, 2 strikes.
At least we changed the order of mail. I'll be getting some now.
Good breaking ball. Saberhagen had the kind of inning he needed. A 3-up, 3-down inning. Very few pitches. He's starting to get that snapping curveball over now. So we'll go to the bottom of the 6th here in Kansas City with the Blue Jays still leading 4-2 over the Royals. You're watching the bats. Blue Jays baseball on CTV.
Love these trade shows, Armbruster. Armbruster?
Hey, Armbruster. How are you?
Armbruster, nice to see you.
You know all these people.
Meet with them every week.
Come now.
Armbruster, how's it going? We don't always meet face-to-face, Chief. By selling through long distance, I have more time to meet with all my customers, large and small.
All that attention means more sales, right?
Armbruster! I like to make Scoggins.
No?
Business long distance from Bell.
The Esso No Trouble gasoline actually cleans carburetors and fuel injectors as you drive. Now, if some people had a little less trouble believing that, they might have a little less trouble.
Witness the dawn of a new dynasty. Introducing the 1988 Chrysler Dynasty, a celebration of style and value in an all-new family sedan, featuring 6-passenger comfort, advanced front-wheel drive technology, available V6 power and anti-lock brakes, 7/115 protection, and a price that makes it all possible. The all-new Chrysler Dynasty, within reach, without equal.
As we look at the score, going to the bottom of the 6th, 4-2 Toronto. To this point, opening day, the Royals being plagued somewhat by the same problem they had last couple of years, getting base hits with men in scoring position. They've left 6 on through 5, but they had McFarlane on in the 2nd with 1 out.
Now batting for the Royals.
2 men struck out, Stillwell and Wilson. They had Tartable on in the 3rd with 2 outs, didn't get him home. They had Jackson on 2nd base with 1 out, didn't get him home. Last inning, 2 men on 2nd and 3rd with 1 out, didn't drive him in. So they've gotten base runners, but haven't been able to get the hit, get themselves back in the ball game. Steve Balboni. Ball 1.
Talk about a career in decline. Here's a right-handed dead pull hitter, Balboni, whose batting average last year against left-handed pitching dropped from 276 way down to 194.
Change up and a good one from Key. Balboni way out in front. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Balboni was hitless in 31 consecutive at-bats from April the 19th until May the 2nd last year.
Wow.
It's a long drought.
They say not only has there been a weight loss, but he has shortened his swing. Keeps going after that fastball upstairs. He's going to have another long season. He's a guy who's a mistake hitter. You've heard that before. Not quite as wild a swinger as he was a few years back. You hang that curveball or get that fastball in his zone, pulled foul.
That's why he's here, for that kind of power if he keeps it straight. He did hit 29 home runs in '86, 121 lifetime. Of course, out of the Yankee organization where he was buried in Columbus, the Royals rescued him.
Strikes out a lot. Tartables can strike out a lot, too, over 100 times. Willie Wilson for leadoff hitter. Strikes out considerably. You know what Bo Jackson's going to do, and that, again, could mean there are going to be a few more problems scoring runs.
That's why this team's got to run so much, and Wathan has them running.
And the thing about it is, when you've got guys who strike out a lot, it's difficult to start runners. I mean, Wathan says he's going to do it, and I believe it. But once you get guys starting a runner swinging through pitches, and you got to strike out and throw out, and you're removing base runners, the stolen base can become a negative. Pull foul again. So it's easy to say we're going to be a running team, and you can do it in spring training. But sometimes it's not quite so easy. You've got strikeout guys up.
The fans at Fenway getting their money's worth. A bonus at opening day, extra innings. Tigers and Red Sox tied at 3 at the 10th.
I wonder, and I doubt, although Clements might be in there. Clements struck out 13 the other day in just 6 innings down in Florida. And both Clements or Morris, the 2 starting pitchers, are horses. Liriano will be called off again by Jesse Barfield. He's got it. The Duke, John Wathen. New pitching coach, Frank Funk. Pitch for Cleveland. That's Frank with his sunglasses on. Next to him, Gary Blaylock was the pitching coach for years here with the Kitty Cars, and now John Wathen has brought in Frank Funk. That was Mike Lum to Funk's right. 1 out, 4-2 Blue Jays. 5 of the 6 runs in this ball game on home runs. 3 on 2 home runs by George Bell, 1 on a 2-run home run by George Brett. He just got under. Campusano back from that shallow center field. Ball just keeps on going. I'll tell you, that baby was up there. About 400 feet away, but it's an out for Bo Jackson. Tremendous power to right field. There are 2 outs. The Labatt's player of the game for Kansas City will receive the Hitachi 14-watt AM/FM 3D Super Woofer with auto reverse, double cassette, and high-speed dubbing. Just one of a full line of 3D radios from Hitachi. Folks, we're offering things this year that got more accessories than Grandma's stove.
I had a dog
or a washing machine.
You know that?
Wow.
The dog I had was a super woofer, too.
I mean, do they have tweeters in there, too, along with the woofer? Or what do they do?
Gotta check. Next game, we'll find out.
2 outs, Mike McFarlane. Jimmy Key trying to have a nice, easy inning, as Saberhagen did in the top of the 6th.
Now the Tigers go ahead of the Red Sox 5-3 in the 10th inning of that game we alluded to at Fenway.
Squibbed off the end of the bat on a play. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Opening in Baltimore, and the Orioles have 14 new faces for the team that opened the season last year, but they're still trailing 6-0 to the Brewers.
Yeah, with Rick Shue down at third base, should give him some offense. Jeff Stone with that speed. Mosby will not be able to cut this one off, playing toward left center field. McFarlane will have his 2nd double of the ball game.
So he'll long remember.
Well, he's got 2 doubles. If you're wondering what the record for doubles in an opening day are, he may have another 2 at-bats. Frank Pop Dillon and Jim Greengrass. You remember Pop Dillon, don't you? I remember Jim Greengrass. They got 4 doubles. That's the Major League record for opening day.
I don't remember either one.
So we've got Mark Eichhorn starting to soft toss again. David Wells also. So the Royals with a runner in scoring position again. That's 5 consecutive innings, and they're not going to score again. Jimmy Key usually waved the pitcher off, but now with his hands. So they strand McFarlane in the 6th inning. That's 7 left on through 6 innings for the Royals. Jimmy Key has a nice easy inning, double thrown in by McFarlane. 4-2 Blue Jays, as we'll go to the 7th with Don Chevrier coming back. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV.
Play baseball magic at your A&P, Super Dominion, and Super Fresh stores in Ontario. Win one of 80 trips for 2 to Orlando, home of Walt Disney World Resort. Win up to $10,000 instantly. Over 150,000 available prizes. All trips provided by Treasure Tours, a world of vacations. This week's baseball magic features Purina Tender Vittles, the easiest way to your cat's heart, and Sunny Delight, delicious, nutritious fruit beverages.
Beside the fact that the Chevrolet Beretta GT is one of the most aerodynamically designed cars in the world, and beside the fact that all this style starts at just $14,600, the Beretta GT goes like stink.
There's heart in this land. It's there in all we do. That's why hands across the sky. tree. Reach for the blue, and when we get together, it's a taste that's clean and true. So when you call, then you call for the blue. You know it's gotta be blue. That's why you call for the blue. That's why you call for your blue. It's time to call for the blue.
We talked about opening days and super starters. We mentioned Ruth, 422 average in those home runs and 3 opening day wins. He's another pretty good hitter, best I ever saw. Played up in Boston. Name was Ted Williams, folks, the Splendid Splinter. In 14 opening day games, all he did was hit .449. In fact, every opening day game Williams ever played, and he got at least 1 base hit.
Remarkable. All right, away we go here in the 7th inning for the Blue Jays, leading the Kansas City Royals 4-2, and they can thank George Bell for that. Jesse Barfield leads it off and pops it up. It'll drift back out of play. Jesse today is 0 for 2. They're going to sacrifice fly in the 4th inning, though, that got Rance Mononix home. Fred McGriff will hit behind him, and Sil Capusano, the young man in center field who got his first Blue Jay double in the 5th inning.
This opening day lineup for the Blue Jays with the infusion of that added speed of Liriano last year and Camposano this year, they get a little more of that team speed they won for artificial surface. This ballpark and home, and they've got a nice combination of speed and defense, left and right-handed hitters, a couple switch hitters. So more speed added to Mosby and Fernandez.
Yeah, there's 4 speedsters right here in this lineup today, and they may not compare with the St. Louis Cardinals exactly, but they certainly are the most comparable team in the American League East to them, especially on the surface they can play out in Toronto.
Now, perhaps nobody in the history of baseball compare with team speed of the St. Louis Cardinals. Even their catcher, Tony Pena, still runs fairly well.
Well, Watford has taken note of that, as Jimmy Williams has here, too, that you don't have power like the Cardinals don't now. They're going to have to rely on speed all the more, as the Royals feel they have to here to increase their run production. We've spoken about that. Here's the 1-2 count to Jesse. Leans back from it. It is 2-2.
You know, but even though you got speed sometimes and you can hit and run, that doesn't always work. And we've seen it so far in this game. There have been men in scoring position, but there are some teams that don't hit well with men in scoring position. Less than 2 outs. Don't know how to get runners home. 3 swinging clubs. Royals are experiencing this problem again through 6 innings. They've had that problem the last 2 years. So you can steal all you want, but if you leave guys stranded, it ain't going to help you.
I mentioned earlier they tied a record being shut out 6 times in the month of April last year. That won't happen today, but they're in arrears by a couple of runs. They have left base runners in each inning, at least 1, a total of 8 on the day. So frustration here at Royal Stadium.
Kansas City was shut out 17 times last year. Pete Rosa, when he got Danny Jackson, said, we're not going to get shut out 17 times. He's going to be a winner with us.
Jesse waves at strike 3. That is strikeout number 5 from Brett Saberhagen. And here's interesting. 3-1 margin. They would not trade George Bell, agreeing with your position. I guess mine, too, basically. He's just too talented to trade. You got to work something out, and they will.
And apparently, George Steinbrenner, after the book by Winfield, could not unload him by opening day, and he vowed that he would. That would have been another stupid move by George. That's a pretty good ball player, especially with Clark out.
Appeal, it's a called strike to McGriff. Strike 1. Well, what he did do, though, is boost Dave's book sales tremendously. Paid him a few more dollars.
Winfield didn't say anything any worse about George Steinbrenner than Steinbrenner said about Winfield. He's criticized Winfield since he got him, hasn't he?
Yep. 1-1 to McGriff. He struck out twice today. McGriff in barely 300 at-bats last year, 20 home runs. Some of them are mammoth shots, as you Blue Jay fans recall. One memorable home run in Yankee Stadium, way up in the upper deck in right field.
Too many strikeouts, although he will take walks to balance that out. And already we're seeing what McGriff did in his minor league career. Look at the batting stance. Now he's hoping on the plate.
Gets into that one, rips it in the gap. Going to go a long way. Big hop. It's off the top. Coming up with it is Willie Wilson as McGriff ambles into second base with his first double of the season.
I wonder if Fred made that adjustment on his own or Cito Gaston suggested it. McGriff had a pattern in the minor leagues of changing too often. You have an 0 for 4 day, and he changes stance, he's open this time and on the plate, perhaps to try and take away the outside part of the plate, suggested by Cito Gaston, and it was a sinker low and away that he got at went the other way.
He went down and drove that ball. So he's at second base. One out for center fielder Capusano. Blue Jays holding a 4-2 lead. They trailed thanks to George Brett's home run in the first inning, 2-0. Came back to narrow the gap on Bell's solo shot. Ball one over Capusano's head. And then took the lead in the fourth inning, scoring 3 runs. Bell with a 2-run shot there. And while Saberhagen has looked pretty strong, apart from Bell's damage to him, here's Garber over from Atlanta, warming up just in case. One of 2 sidearmers on this team, joining Quisenberry, and that is into shallow left field. The shortstop's going to range back, make the call, and back Jackson off and take the catch. 2 down now. McGriff stationed at second for Nelson Laureano.
That's the part of the pitching staff for Kansas City that I think ownership and John Walton have to worry about a little bit, the bullpen. Unless Quisenberry can come back. Garber, when they picked him up last September from Atlanta, they picked up a big contract from there. He saved like 7 games in the month of September last year. Now, Quisenberry has the stoppers roll back, at least for now.
He had 18 saves and 26 chances.
Garber has a unique delivery, not just sidearm, but he turns his back and he's got a great changeup.
Laureano. Wilson says, I'll take 2 steps, make the 3rd out.
That sun is bad.
He had to battle it. They strand McGriff with his double. 7th inning stretch time for the first time this year. 4-2 Jays on the Bats Blue Jays baseball on CTV.
You could win a trip to the Indy 500 during Goodyear's big event sale. Get fabulous savings on all season high performance radials. Save on our lowest price performance radials. Our best all-season radials. And our lowest priced all-season radials. Remember the Indy 500 contest and hurry to your participating Goodyear retailer. The big event sale ends soon.
Goodyear takes you home.
When the music makes you feel good, it's gotta be Chum.
Sweet dreams are made of these.
I'm sitting on the dock of the bay.
Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies.
Nobody plays more favorites than 1050 Chum.
My mama said you can't hurry love.
Start your day with Jerry Forbes and Brian Henderson on 1050 Chum.
Here's another way your Toronto area Mazda dealers put you first.
Right now, save 6 ways with Mazda. Save with free automatic transmission on Mazda 323. On the popular 626. The sporty MX-6. The luxurious Mazda 929. Save with free automatic on RX-7. And save hundreds of dollars on Mazda trucks. 6 ways to save with Mazda. Plus the best warranty in the business. Your Toronto area Mazda dealers. Putting you first.
Well, left-hander David Wells has come on to pitch for the Blue Jays. So that means Jimmy Key went 6 innings, gave up 8 hits, and that 2-run homer to George Brett. But I talked to David Wells before the game because a week ago in Port Charlotte, he pulled a muscle in his left side, and he did pitch yesterday in Denver. He said that muscle's okay, it hasn't bothered him, and he's ready to go.
He had a great spring, as you know, Fergie. He had 5 wins, the most ever by a Blue Jay in spring training over the years. And such an impressive finish out of the bullpen in the '87 season. They tried him as a starter earlier, and he got rocked around by the Yankees pretty well in July, but came back to impress out of the pen. Working here to Willie Wilson to start the Royals' 7th inning. Kansas City trails 4-2.
All David Wells did, most of that was in September last year in relief, a strikeout 32 and 29 in the 3rd innings. Throws hard, and he's got a great curveball. And he appears to be able to throw strikes. A young man who they thought his career might be finished with rotator cuff surgery, that dreaded disease, and it made him a bullpen pitcher. He's come back a long way.
Hard-throwing left-hander, along with Henke, striking fear in hitters around the American League. 1-2 is the count to Wilson. It'll be followed by Seitzer and Brett here in the 7th inning.
Well, it's always nice to have 2 guys who can close the ballgame for you. Henke can't go every day, and that's a comment that Wells made when they said, how do you feel to be a setup? And he said, hey, look, Henke can't close 162 games.
That's right.
I'll close my share.
Just missed inside. He wanted the inside corner, didn't get it from plate umpire Dave Phillips, so it's 2-2.
He has a tremendous makeup for a relief pitcher, short reliever. he doesn't care where he's at and doesn't know where he's at or who's batting. He just comes in and says, here, hit it, and gives my best stuff. Fingers was that way, perhaps the best of all time.
I guess at a glance, 5-3, the Tigers beat the Red Sox. You'd have to give David Wells the gold medal as the winner of the Ernie Witt lookalike contest.
Yes.
At a glance.
You see what Milwaukee's doing to Baltimore? Baltimore's pitching problems continue. 11-0, Milwaukee's leading.
In the eighth inning. Yep.
Wow.
Not a happy day at Memorial Stadium for the O's. That Oriole magic long since faded. Two and two to Willie Wilson. 1 for 3 today. Single in the 5th inning. Got as far as third base. He cracks this one foul. Blue Jays, as Tony told you, working on snapping an 0 for 6 game here at Royal Stadium last year. But Toronto did come back and beat Kansas City 3 of the last 4 times they met at Exhibition Stadium.
Kansas City last year finished only 2 games behind the Minnesota Twins. Remember, the Twins won just 85 ball games, but it really wasn't as close as it seemed. Minnesota finished on the road. They all but had it clinched, and they lost a lot of games to finish that season.
3-2, full count. Wells not happy with that third ball.
Well, he was 0-2 on Wilson, and that's why he's very unhappy. You don't want to lose the first hitter in an inning when you got a 2-run lead.
Way up and left for Mosby. Going back. He can't get it. It's off the wall. Willie's going all the way to third base. The big bounce. Capusano had to flag it down in the middle of the outfield.
Lloyd, I don't think he was fooled by the sun because he was looking away from the sun. Did not obviously think the ball was going to carry that far. There's been a little bit of a wind shift. It was blowing slightly to right field, and now it's blowing toward left center field. Lloyd's got the glasses down, but he really doesn't run hard after this ball. He may have lost it, gotten a slow jump. He would have had to make a good play to get it, but there have been a couple times in this ball game where Lloyd hadn't gotten a good jump on a fly ball.
How much would the unfamiliar position have to do with it?
Well, ball's hooked, and they sliced there, but that one was just a long, lazy fly ball. Perhaps underestimated the carry on that ball off the bat of Willie Wilson. It was very catchable. Lloyd perhaps should have had it. He knows it.
Here's Seitzer. Wilson at third base to start the inning. And folks, he will test the arm of Capusano. The toss is off wide. He scores. It's 4-3.
Tell you what, that ball looked like it was going to fall in, and that's Campusano playing so shallow. Campy mad at himself for not getting a good throw off. He may have rushed it. You've got to credit Wilson's speed for forcing a hurried throw.
I guess.
Not hit deeply. Looks like it might even fall in for a little Texas leaguer, but Campusano playing so shallow. Now Campy made a mistake. He pounded in his glove twice. It gave Wilson an extra step. Couldn't have a good grab. The ball tails on him.
4-3, 1 down in the 7th inning. It'll bring up George Brett. He hit his 2-run shot in the 1st inning, then grounded to 2nd and down to 1st unassisted in the 5th inning. But oh, so dangerous. As Tony said, Bobby Cox reached the point where he refused to pitch to the guy. He drove the Blue Jays crazy over the years.
I'd like to see the way Blue Jays have played defensively today. Tony couldn't make a throw on Seitzer earlier and then missed the tag and ended up with a Brett 2-run home run, and then Lloyd not really seeing that ball well off the bat or whatever happened, not catching up to the fly ball, so that's another run. Jays defense today, just a few times, but that's all it takes in a close ball game. It's not been good.
Tremendously as the Royals chip away at this Jimmy Key lead, with Jimmy out of the ball game now. In favor of this man, David Wells. Mike Flanagan is scheduled to start Wednesday's game. Tomorrow's an off day in this series. Just as well, they're forecasting rain in Kansas City after this delightful sunshine today. Flanagan against Charlie Liebrandt. Then Thursday, Jim Clancy scheduled against Mark Gubicon. 2-1 to the keen batting eye of George Brett. He'll be 35 on the 13th of May. Brett doesn't like that call, but it's 2-2. Makes his peace with Davey Phillips and steps back in.
That was supposed to be the strike that they weren't going to call, that low strike, call as much with the strike zone being raised a little bit.
They set to left. Brett keeps the Royals rally alive in the 7th.
That right there shows the kind of greatness George Brett has. It was a questionable call, one he didn't like, and yet some hitters might have kind of given up on the at-bat, and he stuck with it and took the fastball the other way.
He shook it off, didn't he? Put it behind him.
Right-hander now, I think, with Tartable, White, Balboni, and then Jackson and McFarlane. Guys you don't pinch hit for, so you're probably going to see Mark Eichhorn with a string of right-handers now.
Wales had to face the switch-hitting Wilson. Seitzer from the right side, then Brett from the left. But as you say, now it's a string of hitters from the other side. So Jimmy's out there, and he will take the ball. So Eichhorn makes the long trip in a 4-3 ball game. While he does, we'll pause for a moment.
The experts at Car and Driver have said the Honda Accord is the only car to make the 10 best list every year for 6 years running, which makes it the one perfect player. Why, it's almost enough to make us blush.
Start your day with Jerry Forbes and Brian Henderson on 1050 Chum. Nobody plays more favorites than 1050 Chum. 1050 Chum. More music, more fun.
Mark Eichhorn will try to extinguish this Royals fire in the 7th inning after David Wells came on and gave up the triple and the subsequent run. Wilson scoring. Eichhorn last year with 89 relief appearances to lead the American League. A lot of hitters were laying off his wildness, his planned wildness out of the strike zone, and you walk more as a result. Nonetheless, had a decent year after a great year in '86.
It's interesting to see what can happen to bullpens when they are worked very hard. Mark Eichhorn led the league, as you said, with 89 appearances. He was very inconsistent last year. Mitch Williams was inconsistent last year at Texas. He was second. Mahorsic was third from Texas. He's had arm trouble. Probably missed the season. Hanke was tired at the end. He was next. And Musselman was fifth in the league. And Jeff has had rotator cuff surgery. So if you don't handle the bullpen with some semblance of delicacy, you can hurt it badly.
And it's a very delicate balance.
You can overpitch guys very easily.
False start, and the pitch is swung through by Danny Tartable, who doubled in the 3rd inning. He is 1 for 3. Jimmy Williams clinging to a 1-run lead in the Kansas City 7th inning, ahead 4-3.
Well, he's trying to get through the 8th with a lead and then come in with his closer, Tom Hanke. We don't want to bring him in too soon this early in the season. Tom didn't throw the ball that well later on in spring training.
Now they would love a double play ball from Tartable. He takes ball 1. It's 1-1. Brett at first base.
Another thing this team does, we talked about striking out. You've got some double play candidates. Sluggers from the right side who hit the ball hard on the ground. They prevent you from scoring runs also.
Big strike 2. It is 1-2. Tartable, you have to say, was stolen from the Seattle Mariners for Scott Bankhead, Mike Kingery, and Steve Shields.
Well, for a while that trade looked awfully good because Shields, Bankhead, they were doing well. Then Bankhead had terrible arm problems, trying to come back. Shields started well.
Tartable rolls along here at Royal Stadium. Pitches wide, 2-2.
The thing about Danny Tartable is once he got in that little bandbox in Seattle, they didn't figure he'd hit many home runs in this ballpark, but he did.
He surprised them, didn't he? Although typically of a Royal player, the majority of his were on the road. Missed it as a full count.
continues to have his bullpen throwing. Really, the only pure left-hander is George Brett, and then the two switch hitters, Wilson and Stillwell. You'd like to have a bullpen stacked with right-handed relievers for this ball club.
Driven to right field. Barfield can't get to it. Well shy of him. All the way to third goes Brett. Second base they've got to play, but Tarnable is in safely.
Jesse looked like he trotted after that ball, and the double play was removed when Tarnable saw him jogging over, making a long pirouette, and he took advantage of it. Don't like the way this team's played defense today.
I agree with you.
Look at right here. Jesse starts breaking, and Tarnable saw him do that. And there's a rule in baseball you learn as a kid. You should learn it as a kid. You see an outfielder with the ball coming to his glove side, he's going to have to turn all the way around, as Jesse did in that corner. And he took advantage. Now, you don't have a double play possibility. One out here. And White is a double play candidate. And that was second and third instead of first and third, which is what it should have been.
Royals have the table set just the way they wanted. White got his base hit in the first inning. Pops this one up, however. Big break for the Jays there as McGriff in foul territory settles under him.
So, they've had men in scoring position in every inning of this ball game. Brett hit the home run. He never stopped. That was in the first, and since then they've had trouble driving guys home. And we're going to probably have Jim Eisenreich, who is it? Scotty Madison. He's not using his principal pinch hitter now. Scotty Madison is a switch hitter.
Another rookie on this team.
What John Wathan has, he's got Scotty Madison, who's going to hit right now. He's got Jamie Quirk, Pat Bosley, Jim Eisenreich from the left side, Bill Picotta, and Brad Wellman from the right.
Second and third for John Wathan, and two down. Royals trying to rally in the seventh here, down 4-3.
Royals continuing to leave a lot of men in scoring position. He did most of the catching in Omaha last year. Mike McFarlane was a DH because of that shoulder most of the time in Omaha.
Detroit has beaten Boston 5-3 in 10 innings, while Milwaukee mauls Baltimore 12-0 in the bottom of the eighth. And California and Chicago are tied at 3. Another opening day action around the American League. 4-3 Jays here, but they cling to that lead. Highcorn, suspended motion, brings it through.
It's an interesting move by John Wathan. He felt if he put up that bounce, he was an excellent pinch hitter, and Eisenreich and Quirk are left-handed. He figured with first base open, they'd bring in Cerruti. Pitch to him.
They may get away with it here. Here's the flip to Eichhorn, and they're out of the inning.
Wow, there's
Royals
men on left and right.
Strand two more at second and third. A total of 10 abandoned Kansas City players today. And this is Advanced Blue Jays baseball on CTV.
Hey, Walter, what's up?
With great taste and just 1 calorie, Diet Coke is the one soft drink everyone's falling for.
Hi.
Hi.
1 calorie just for the taste of it. Diet Coke.
multi-valve performance series from Toyota. A very tough act to follow.
Hi, how was your day?
The usual.
Saturday, April 23rd, Canada's top midget-aged hockey players meet in the Air Canada Cup. A live sports special here on CTV.
Versatile Scotty Madison goes to first base after pinch hitting for Balboni. I say versatile because he's primarily a catcher. He was a football quarterback at Vanderbilt. He's got a business administration degree.
So John Watson made a move with the pinch hitter Madison. He'll be second guessed for the first time this year when they say, why didn't you put in Kirk Bosley or Eisenreich? And Watson said, well, because then they'd have brought in Cerruti. And they said, well, you got Pacoda and Wellman. And he said, well, he won't knock his players, but they're not really reliable RBI men and not that good at hitters, and that's not a knock at them. So he was looking at the matchup, and he liked Madison against Eichhorn. It didn't work.
Mosby sending it up, Bo Jackson's way. He's right there for the first out. Fergie?
Shortstop Tony Fernandez, after all is said and done, you managed to play 12 games in spring training, and I know that you still have some problems. Maybe not so much with the elbow, but the shoulder now.
Well, it's in this, obviously. I mean, it's understandable that my arm is going to give me a little bit of trouble for the beginning of the season, but, you know, I can't wait until my arm gets 100%. Guess anybody in this game, if you wait until you are 100% to play this game, you might never play. So I've been like this before. I know what it is, how to play like this. I know what to expect from me right now, so I'm not going to push myself. But I know that I'm going to try my best, and I'll be ready for this season.
Tony takes ball one. Hitless so far today.
Don, we're going to have to be careful with Tony now. If the weather stays warm here, he'll be okay, and then they go to the Dome in Minnesota. But when they get that cold weather, they're going to have to be careful to keep that arm. I'm sure they'll keep heat on it when he's on the bench, or maybe not even play him full games when the cold weather hits.
Could be a problem, and there will be cold weather in April. There always is. This, unfortunately, won't hold this 80-degree situation today.
The only problem is if they do that in cold weather, and I'm not saying they're going to do it, I would think they would try. Who do you play at shortstop? With Manny Lee down, you've got Kelly Gruber, and he's not basically a shortstop.
Manny Lee starts the season on the 15-day disabled list. 2 balls and a strike. The Mets favored to win the National League East, leading Montreal 4-1 in the 4th inning of their opener today. St. Louis and Cincinnati are tied at 4. Dodgers lead the Giants 1-0 in the 3rd. This is fading foul. And it's 2-2 to Tony Fernandez. He'll be followed by George Bell, the one-man wrecking machine for the Blue Jays this afternoon.
Mets Montreal. Matchup, who else? Dwight Gooden, Dennis Martinez, who won 11 for Buck Rogers last year. Dave Dravecki will oppose Fernando Valenzuela. Giants-Dodger game.
Fernandez becomes the second out of the 8th inning. 6 strikeouts now for the Royal starter.
That's the great changeup that Saberhagen has. You can see it. I believe it's what they call the circle change. We've talked about it. Doyle Alexander throws it. Make the circle that acts like a screwball, and just with such terrific arm speed. This arm speed stays the same as on his fastball. He's got good movement on it also.
Well, he opened last year like a house on fire, going 15-3, and then faded. But against this man, he can't quite solve George Bell, but he's not alone there, Brett Saberhagen.
That's exactly why John Watson said he's not going to let guys complete ball games. He's going to use his bullpen right from the start. Even this early, he's got Saberhagen going into the 8th inning. Jimmy Key threw just over 100 pitches. He was taken out by Jimmy Williams.
Bell pops it out, and if they hurry, there'll be a play.
I'll tell you. Mike McFarlane, that ball just went off the edge of the glove of Madison. I don't know if the reason McFarlane didn't get there, and he was closer, was because he got hit on the shoulder by the backlash of George Bell. And as soon as Bell fouled that up with a follow-through, he clipped him right on the left shoulder, and McFarlane almost went down. He couldn't go out. He was the closest dude. Watch Bell. You want to talk about catchers and how rigorous this job is? Watch this. Ow! Right off the left shoulder. It appeared that it got more of the little protection, but he still got a little bit of his Mickey Cobb comes out. That's why he didn't get that foul ball. He was trying to figure out how badly he was hurt. Good camera coverage, guys. Tom McKee, our producer. Michael Lansbury, our director. And the Ace camera crew's here.
The A team.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Well, that's because we haven't got a B team yet.
Oh, I thought you meant by that guy from Illinois, the A team.
Oh, no, no. I'll tell you, it's pretty tough in that last situation. When your catcher can't go after it, your first baseman gets a late start, your pitcher's got to... Oh, and here comes the third one if it stays fair, and it does. Bell has burned Brett Saberhagen and the Royals today.
This is one of the all-time opening day shows, folks. Saberhagen kept trying to get the ball in the kitchen, inside the Bell. He got one about bell high inside. And George, who last season began hitting that inside pitch better than ever before, that's why the home run total. When he first came up, first few years, you pitched him in. He learned, he adjusted. He's learned to get the barrel through. Ooh.
Well, if he is unhappy, as he says, I think the rest of the American League would hate to see him when he's happy. What a performance by George Bell this afternoon off Saberhagen. 4 RBIs, 3 home runs to start the season.
I still think he should be in left field for 80 to 100 games.
As time goes on, maybe he will. Next 2-base hit, as you see in the 4th inning, and then 2 fly balls to center field. Second and the 6th inning. Like I said a while ago, the Royals had left 10. They have stranded 9, but that's quite enough, thank you, for John Wathan. 5-3 Toronto. 2 gone in the 8th inning at Royal Stadium. France getting a piece is 1 and 2. Mononex with a memorable home run at Fenway Park a few years ago on opening day. So right now, George Bell is 130 RBIs away from what he got last year, and within 44 home runs of what he got last year.
I think Saberhagen felt he made a good pitch that time to Bell. I think he got the ball right where he wanted it, inside. And George, having seen those pitches in his first couple of times at bat, just opened up a little bit, got the hip out of the way and the bat out in front.
And he gets Mononex for strike 3, collecting his 7th strikeout, but again, Bell has burned it. The Blue Jays lead 5-3. We head for the bottom of the 8th on the Mats Blue Jays baseball on CTV.
Introducing the 1988 Nissan Pulsar NX, now more powerful than ever. The car for people who know where they're going and want to get there sooner. Nissan Pulsar NX. Built for the most important race of all, the human race.
Switch your radio to Toronto's modern rock, FM 102, CFNY. And get into today's hottest music. You won't hear the same old song over and over like everywhere else. You'll hear great modern rock from today's greatest artists with more variety than any other station on your radio dial. Get into today's music. Tune in and turn on to FM 102, CFNY, Toronto's modern rock.
Tired of traveling all over town for low prices? Here's an idea. Come to Honest Ed's world-famous bargain house, and we'll give you the big picture. Major credit cards are welcomed at Honest Ed's 14 full-range departments, including groceries. Sink your teeth into these prices. Pharmacy. Roll on down. We won't stick it to you. And film. Ed's a little fuzzy, but its prices are in focus. Conveniently located on the Bloor subway line at Bathurst. And remember, Honest Ed's a silly goose.
Take a gander at my low prices.
Every Saturday, catch the finest moments in sports from across Canada and around the world, only on CTV's Wide World of Sports.
George Brett, Bo Jackson had a lot of unhappy teammates last year. What has he done to turn it around this year? And has he turned it around?
Well, he's definitely turned it around. I think what you heard and what you saw last year, it happened in Toronto of all places, but we were told by the media. We thought Bo should have told us. I think it was blown completely out of proportion. I was behind Bo 100%. Whatever he wants to do in the wintertime is Bo's priority. I was very excited to go to the Raider games, watch him play football. He fulfilled his obligation to play 162 games. He went to spring training. What he does in the offseason is fine with me. I think this year he went to spring training. He showed everybody he wanted to be a good Major League Baseball player, and he played great. He was one of the best players that we had in spring training, and we're looking forward to Bo having a great year and also a great year with the LA Raiders next year. I think it's great. I love watching him play football, and I love having him on my team.
Twinkle in Georgie's eye makes you think maybe that he'd like to be playing pro football and baseball just like Bo Jackson does. There'll be a change here right off the bat as Eichhorn will give way. The big guy, Tom Henke, coming on.
What Jimmy Williams did was he tried a trick that really didn't work, but it's a trick he had to try. With Eichhorn out there, thought maybe John Wathan would pinch hit a left-handed hitter for Bo Jackson, which he didn't do. It wasn't announced. He was going to bring in Cerruti to pitch to the left-handed pinch hitter, I believe, and then he'd had two switch hitters. Stillwell and Wilson would have to hit from the right side to negate their speed. But Wathan didn't make a move. He's going to let Jackson hit, so Jimmy goes out and now brings his power pitcher in, Tom Henke.
With 5 saves under his belt already in spring training as Henke.
So it looks like John Wathan, who's early in the year, is going to stick with Bo Jackson through thick and thin. Let him play himself out of the lineup, but I don't believe Bo Jackson will play himself out of the lineup this year.
Henke not used down the stretch, and Jimmy Williams got criticized for that last year. He reserved him for strictly save situation. The only time he appeared in a non-save situation was as early as the end of April in the season of '87.
When you go back to those last 7 games against Milwaukee and Detroit last year, and we were present, I think, in almost every one of them, you saw Tom Henke get up in the bullpen. He rarely threw a ball hard. It wasn't that the strategy may have dictated there were times to use Tom Henke, but Jimmy Williams knew that he wasn't throwing the ball. And I'm not saying he had a bad arm, but I think he was very tired. Some have accused Jimmy of overworking him and Musselman and some of the others. But Henke, a power pitcher, just got a little tired, and he really wasn't ready to pitch in any of those last games. Plus, the pitching wasn't the problem last year anyway. The hitting stopped again.
Yeah, if you want to use the term collapse, you can do it in an offensive sense, but not a complete sense by the Blue Jays. They are 2-20 over the last 3 years, the final week of the season. Incredible. Will this be the year when they finally come roaring down the stretch and nip somebody at the wire rather than fading themselves?
It's a great opening day. Commissioner Peter Ueberroth here, of course, as we indicated earlier, along with some of his crack assistants, Dave Allworth. Some of the big guys are in town, folks. Watch what you say.
And a crowd in excess of 40,000. They're about 500 shy of the all-time opening day record set here between these teams in '85 in that classic 2-1 Steve Black matchup 3 years ago. Here's Bo. Henke blows it past him for a strike. After Jackson, it'll be Mike McFarland, the catcher, and Kurt Stillwell, the shortstop, the scheduled hitters.
One of the last times out down in spring training in Dunedin, Tom Henke really didn't throw the ball hard at all. He pitched 2 innings. He said, I don't know what was wrong. I was lazy. Maybe it's just spring training doldrums. They had him on the radar gun in the low 80s. That was the fast gun. He just was all goofed up with his delivery.
Jackson, one hop down to Kelly Gruber, has replaced Mullinex at third base for the first out.
That was the pitch that Henke worked on extra hard this year, that fork ball he just got Jackson out with.
Reminder about Blue Jays banner. It all begins this weekend. Jeff Hutchison here gathering material for that show. It'll be on many of these stations. Check for it in your area. Blue Jays banner begins a brand new season. As does Kelly Gruber, not getting the start on opening day, but replacing Rance Mullinex here in the 8th inning.
So John Wathan, with a few left-handed hitters on his bench at his disposal, elects to let Mike McFarland hit against one of the toughest closers in the entire game.
Why not? The kids had 2 doubles today.
Well, sooner or later you go percentages, though, I think. And you got Bosley there and Eisenreich, Jamie Quirk, but especially the first 2. You can end up losing the ball game with him sitting on the bench. Wathan, as you said, saying, hey, look, the kid's got a couple doubles. Then let him start it off.
One more time. Let's see what he can do. 1-1 to him with Kurt Stillwell on deck. Detroit beating Boston in 10, 5-3, and the Orioles just can't wait for their home opener to be over. They trail Milwaukee 12-0 in the 9th inning.
California. 4-3 over Chicago in the 7th, and the new manager, Cookie Rojas.
For the Angels, sudden retirement of Gene Mock just before the season was about to begin.
Commissioner Peter Uberoth, of course, spearheading the drive to have baseball hire more minorities, and it's happening in front offices more quickly than people felt. And he's got a minority manager, Cuban-born Cookie Rojas, now managing in California.
Henke gets McFarland.
He's throwing well, isn't he?
Looks like the Tom Henke of old, 5 saves in spring training. Prepping him for what could be his greatest season ever, although it would be awfully hard to top what he did last year. Stillwell is 0 for 3.
Gruber cheating at third base in case he tries to drop a bunt down. Henke, not easy to bunt on. You might accidentally catch him throwing a fork ball where you can get the ball down, but if he's throwing the heat, 90-plus fastball, you can forget it.
Young Stillwell, a National Leaguer, hasn't seen him before.
There's the fork ball again.
Wishes probably by now he never did see him.
You know, Ernie Witt knows that power pitchers like Henke sometimes take a month or so, even with spring training, to get in gear. So he's throwing more fork balls now. Bedrosian would be the same way. Usually power pitchers are slower started getting in gear.
In foul territory, Witt will have it. That'll retire the Royals in order in the 8th inning. Blue Jays are 3 outs away from an opening day victory here in Kansas City. 5-3 they lead through 8. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on CTV.
And Henke needs one more strike for the save. We're in the bottom of the 9th, 2 on, a full count. It's been a brilliant performance tonight. Here's the bench. Strike 3.
Aquavelva Aftershave. No fancy perfumes, no fancy prices, just a cool, refreshing fragrance that makes a man feel like a man.
Great game, Terminator. There's something about an Aquavelva man.
You know, there's a way of life around here. Says the things you love are worth protecting. My machinery, I use quality SO oils. In this little beauty, too. Only Protect. Best engine protection around. It's like you want something to last, you take care. You protect the things you love.
The new Eagle Premier has just been voted best car built in Canada, and we've just made it better. Not only are we offering Chrysler's 7/115 warranty, we now guarantee that Premier's retained value will at least equal the best of any comparable Ford, Buick, Olds, or Chrysler. So now you get one of the best values when you buy, one of the best warranties when you own, and an unprecedented guaranteed value when you trade. The ultimate guarantee.
Every time one of our pitchers strikes out a batter, we come closer to striking out bowel disease. But we can't do it without your help. To find out how you can contribute, call your local CFIC office.
Dan Quisenberry, you've had 2 off seasons, yet manager John Wathan has told you you're the stopper. You're his man this year.
You're exactly right. I guess you're asking me why. I didn't pitch much last year. I pitched some the year before. And John said he's going to give me a chance to pitch a lot this spring training. I did. Threw a good sinker, got a lot of ground balls, and he said he's going to return to me. I guess the reason why is that I pitch well is I pitched a lot in spring training, and my contention is that when I pitch a lot, my ball sinks.
Well, he's up there with the all-time save leaders, but there's little doubt that the best of Quiz is in the past.
You don't know. If he gets the innings, he may be right. The 5 years where he either led the American League or tied for the league in saves, he pitched over 125 innings. Saves 45, 44, 35, 33, 37. The last 2 seasons, he's pitched 81 and 49 innings, and his save total has gone down. Which came first, I guess, the question. Either the lack of innings or the lack of production.
Ernie Witt sends it into left center field. Willie Wilson there along with Jackson, and Bo has it for the first out.
Quisenberry has always had tremendous control, and like Kent DeColvey and Eichhorn and some of those who come from down under right-handed, they have trouble especially with left-handed hitters, and you can see the ball better coming into your bat. But there was a time when even left-handed hitters didn't bother Quisenberry because his control was so pinpoint perfect.
The 2.76 ERA looks impressive enough, but revealing over the last 5 years opponents' batting averages in late inning pressure situations. 234, 265, 277, 309, 310. Up and up they go. This is Jesse Barfield, who is hitless today. He has struck out twice from the offerings of starter Brett Saberhagen. Looking ahead to the Kansas City last gasp of the 9th inning, it'll be the top of the order. And off day tomorrow, and they'll come back at it Wednesday, Tony.
That insurance run by Bell, that home run, and may not look big now, but when it's 4-3 and you get leadoff hitter Wilson up, you could steal, sacrifice, you can even hit and run, one run down, even in the 9th inning, the way Walden's been playing. But that extra run takes some things away. The pitcher's more confident when he goes out to get ahead. He doesn't have to pitch as carefully. Defense is more confident behind that pitcher, especially when you're on the road.
Out Quiz's glove, it'll go through. Base hit for Jesse.
A lot of things away with that extra insurance run that George Bell got the Blue Jays.
You know, you talked about Williams and the Babe and their opening days. I think years from now, and you and I are gone to be broadcasters sitting here talking about what George Bell did on opening day of '88 at Kansas City. 3 home runs.
A disgruntled George Bell. Didn't look at, did he, the way he swung the bat?
Angry man with a bat that sings. Here's Fred McGriff.
I found it interesting when George walked out that day in Florida. He was the DH, and everybody said how terribly disassociated from himself and the team, won't go to the bench. George has been doing that for years. Even when he played left field, as at Mosby, you go down in the bullpen, you throw your glove and bat down there, you socialize with the bullpen people. But they made a big story about it. There was no story there. I mean, really, George has been doing that in spring training for years, even playing left field.
Well, given the situation, it did not look good. But as you say, nothing new.
There was something made of nothing in that incident. I just don't like agents getting involved, though, and having meetings with managers. That, to me, bothers me.
Although this agent, Hendricks, tended to, on the surface at least, diffuse the situation. At least for now. At the summit meeting they had a week or so ago.
Agents negotiate contracts. I'm not accusing any specific agent, but agents also poison players' minds against their manager, saying he's not handling it right. And they badmouth the manager, and that's not good for team morale. But they've got to protect their clients at all costs. That's who they make the money on.
It is 2-0. And then, of course, there are agents, I'm sure, who give good counsel to their players. Because ball players are young, maybe lacking maturity, many of them. They could use that kind of guidance if they'll listen. It's offered, I'm sure. 2-0 to McGriff, with Barfield at first base, 1 out.
It's the kind of situation, old Jesse Barfield with a left-handed hitter up in this situation, off Quisenberry, who, especially with the new ball crew, you'd want to try and steal on him. Get in scoring position, even though McGriff is left-handed. It's interesting with this new ball crew, the guy's got a record going, the longest standing, 894 in the 3rd innings without a ball called on him. Major League action is the guy in the mound right now, Dan Quisenberry. Nobody's gone longer without a ball being called. I wonder what will happen with the new rule this year. If he'll get hit with one.
He will eventually, I'm sure, but in doubtful situations, would he get by on reputation alone?
Well, Charlie Huff had a reputation of unloading in a hurry. We saw him get caught for, what, 9 in one ball game in Florida?
Yeah, quite a day, didn't he? Three and 1 as the checkoff goes to Barfield at first base. McGriff doubling in the 7th inning. Wound up being stranded there. Jesse has to hustle back as the quick toss almost gets it.
That's another move they're calling more this spring, that jump move, where both feet leave the ground and they fly in the air and they throw to first base. They'll call that rule more in the National League, or that kind of ball, where they want you to step toward the base you're going to throw, first base, where you have to throw. You don't have to throw, of course, with the 2nd or 3rd. Saw that call a lot too this spring.
There was an unofficial word out that the league office expected 2 per game to be called, and it certainly averaged out to be. That was in spring training, and a different story so far here today in this one.
We were thinking, as we did all last year, Don, of posting up on our screen the fan vote for the most valuable player in this ball game for the Toronto Blue Jays. But I think we may forego at that, because I think it might be overwhelming, to say the least.
If there's ever a day not to spend the 50 cents, this is it. Wrap it with George's name on it. Pretty good jump. McGriff, pretty good pop on the back. Jesse with the early jump gets all the way around to third base. First and third, one out for the center fielder, Camposano.
This will be a test for Campy against a tough right-hander like Quisenberry, even though he's struggled the last couple of years. Watch Fred McGriff go out and get it. You can see the catcher, Mike McFarlane, actually going out of the strike zone. There are very few hitters that are strong enough to take that kind of pitch, maybe 6 to 8 inches outside, and drill it in the right field area like he did. That's how strong Freddie is. Of course, he's right up on the plate now with that open stance. He's got those long arms, and he can really leverage the outside pitch.
Camposano, who missed by inches a home run in his first at bat with the Jays, did get a double to the 5th inning. He is 1 for 3.
They're in at the corners, double play depth at short and second base.
Popped him up. Here comes Seitzer. Yeah! He hauls it in for the second out.
That's that spacious foul territory. Campy a little bit over anxious. Jumping on the first pitch with runners on first and third. It's a rookie, but it looked like the pitch that was way inside off the plate, a sweeping breaking ball, so he may have gone after a bad pitch. Pitch that he almost could not hit fair. He had to pull it foul.
Lots of RBIs dancing in his head on that one. Nelson Liriano, switch hitter.
That's one of the differences, I think, from AAA ball and when you get to the major leagues. Men on base in AAA, more often than not, he'll start you off with fastballs to get ahead. The big leagues, the control is so much more fine, and the pitchers are more sophisticated. He'll start you off with breaking stuff, try to get ahead of you.
Oh, those breaking pitches, the ultimate test for any AAA player moving up. There's a strike to Liriano. Sacrificed the 5th inning, and then a trio of fly balls to center field. His performance today. The Royals in the bottom of the 9th have Wilson, Seitzer, and Brett ready to go.
Oh, a knuckleball. It's the first one that Quisenberry has thrown in this ball game. He's worked on it more and more as his numbers have gone down the last couple of years. He used to throw an occasional one during his big save years. With a man on third base, he took a chance, and McFarlane boxed it up a little bit.
1-1. Cracks that foul. A ball and 2 strikes now.
Well, what are you trying? Double steal? Always a possibility. See Chess McFarlane's arm. Chances are, as we look at John McLaren, with Liriano in the hole, 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 outs. You could try a delayed steal, a double steal. McFarlane, I doubt that he would throw through, even though Freddie McGriff is not a base stealer. Jimmy Williams tries to trick him.
Nice to get that extra insurance run, but how much do you want to gamble for it? 1 and 2, 2 out. First and third. Back to first. Safely is McGriff.
One thing I'll see, if this lineup, we'll see, I think this lineup stays intact with the more speed of Camposano and Liriano. We're going to see a much better running game from the Blue Jays this year, especially at home in those turf fields, even though the dimensions are short. I think Jimmy Williams prefers running a lot. He just didn't have the horses the last couple of years.
2 and 2.
Now a better pitch to run on if Jimmy Williams is thinking of it.
Quisenberry with that lifetime contract of his, 35 years of age now.
Reverend Fogelman, who's going to take over the club in a year or two completely. Mr. Ewing Kaufman says it was a mistake, some of the contracts he signed. He's admitted it now.
I would agree. Force play from McGriff at second will end the inning. And it'll come down to last chance Kansas City when we come back on Labatt's Blue Jays Baseball on CTV.
Honda would like to show you something you've never seen before. 4-wheel steering. 4-wheel steering from Honda. Only on the new Prelude SI. It's an incredible turn of events.
trip to the Indy 500 during Goodyear's big event sale. Get fabulous savings on all-season high-performance radials. Save on our lowest price performance radials. Our best all-season radials. And our lowest priced all-season radials. Remember the Indy 500 contest and hurry to your participating Goodyear retailer. The big event sale ends soon.
Goodyear takes you home.
People, gather round. Ludlow's our new supervisor of accounts receivable.
Hard to believe how he used to be. Another piece of paper won't get customer attention, but phoning long distance will. Amazing he's now collecting on time, solving invoice problems.
Ludlow, congratulations.
Pity, no more lessons for Ludlow, but there's always...
Fillmore, Fillmore, Fillmore.
Business long distance from Bell.
With Tony Kubek and Fergie Albert, this is Don Chevrier back with you at Royal Stadium in Kansas City. Delightful opening day. The temperature approaching 80 degrees in the sunshine. But Blue Jays have clouded things up. The John Watkins Royals and their loyal fans, plus 40,000 strong here today. They trail by 2 runs. They've enjoyed a good ball game. The Royals, the shorthand 5-3 right now, are going to send up Willie Wilson, Kevin Seitzer, and George Brett to try to turn things around. They'll have to do so at the expense of the premier relief pitcher in the American League, Tom Henke.
Henke doesn't get it around very much ever, but he is especially good at getting ahead of the first hitters in the inning and retiring them.
As he did in the last inning, getting Bo Jackson, Mike McFarland, and Kurt Stillwell, the bottom third of the order. Wilson's had a fine day. He has scored a run in addition.
Jimmy Williams prefers bringing Tom Henke in at the start of an inning, not when men are on base, so he can get in the groove on one hitter.
He did that back in the 8th. Fastball is there at the knees. It is 1-1.
What a day George Bell has had, huh?
Oh, incredible day. 3 home runs. He got his bat on it all 4 times. A fly ball out to left field, the other at bat. 1-2 now to Willie.
Jimmy Key with a nice outing.
Headed for the win if Henke can get this save. The battle continues with Wilson holding it 1-2.
I'll show you Tom Henke when he gets ahead of the count. He can, or at least tries to spot his fastball. Remember Willie Wilson in the World Series? And he really had such a an awful World Series, striking out a lot against Philadelphia. All the Philadelphia pitchers did was pound them inside. Right-handed pitchers pound them hard with hard stuff, and that's what Henke tried to do in the last pitch.
Slashed foul, but he stays alive. Willie turns 33 in July in his 11th Major League season. But here's a guy with a speed you'd like to walk more, to get on more. He only averaged 1 in over 20 plate appearances, 5th lowest of the entire league. He prefers to use the bat to get on, and will not do it this time. Luriano out of the pop-up. 1 gone.
Henke threw a forkball, was up in the strike zone, but Wilson still, most of his power is gone. He was way out in front of the front foot lunging at the ball, so Henke looked like a bad pitch for most pitchers, but because he throws so hard, he still fooled Wilson with a forkball upstairs.
When you talk about power, the Royals have it here with Seitzer, then Brett, then Tartable if the inning goes that far. Kevin today has scored a run, has a base hit, but on twice. Henke, while, as you talked about, not throwing as hard in the spring, is not in mid-season form in terms of velocity, looking mighty impressive just the same.
As you can tell by the hitters, they're pulling the trigger in a hurry, and that's why the forkball be even more effective. At the wiggle for the forkball. Fastball.
Ooh, strike 2. Gets the call from Dave Phillips. Well, the call for mercy has been answered in Baltimore, where it's finally over. Milwaukee 12, the Orioles nothing. Wide with it and low. It is 1-2. The Brewers are going to have a tough time matching their start of last year, though. Their first, I think, 10 games are on the road this time.
When you look at at schedules, the Blue Jays have a very attractive August-September schedule, I think, and that could be the difference in the pennant race.
A tough April one.
If the Blue Jays stay healthy and can go into the third week of August, second or third week, look at their schedule, they've got an excellent chance.
But
That's a long ways off, though, isn't it?
Yeah, coming out of the gate is not so easy. Of course, here with the Royals, they'll be a contender, favored by some to win the West. Minnesota, the defending World Series champions. Then the Yankees, Minnesota, Kansas City, the Yankees, and Oakland, one of the top teams in the West in preseason ratings. That's the April menu for the Jays. Last chance belongs to Brett to keep it alive for Kansas City, and it's high, ball one to him. His homer gave the Royals the lead back in the first inning. That was about the last time they were in control. George Bell took over.
He may be taking a strike. 2 runs down. Yeah, he's taking a strike all the way. That's George Brett. He's going to sacrifice himself. Figures, heck, I can jump on the first or second pitch and maybe get on the base hit, but I'd rather try and work Hinkie for a walk and let Tardible do it. Now he'll be swinging at anything that he likes. Nothing new. It's old-fashioned baseball. It's difficult to get 3, 4, and 5 hitters, the usual power hitters in the lineup, but take pitches now.
Very difficult on this day of the individual in baseball to get people to do that, but Brett's been around long enough to realize it's still a team game. He plays it that way.
Now, you can't sit there if you're George Brett, as good as he is, look for a fork ball. You still got to sit on the heater and try and protect against it. He throws you the good fork ball and try and put it in play. Let's see what they go with. Fastball.
1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 gone. Nobody on. Blue Jays lead 5-3. Bottom of the 9th on opening day in Kansas City.
Off day tomorrow.
They go back at it Wednesday, then Thursday to cap this series. Here's the 1-2 from Hinkie. Brett pops it up. Little drift into the crowd. No play for Ernie Witt.
Example of Brett protecting the plate. Fork ball that he just fouled off. Charlie Leibrandt against Mike Flanagan Wednesday. Mark Kubica, Jim Clancy Thursday. Steve will open against Minnesota on Friday night. It's unusual. I wonder if Jimmy Williams will stay with us the rest of the season. Key and Flanagan. A lot of managers like to put left-hander, right-hander, left-hander, right-hander.
Alternate them. A little low, 2-2.
He's opening this series with a couple of left-handers. Unusual in that the Royals, too, are pretty strong with the right-handed bats, but not so unusual you start left-handers because of George Brett. That's how dominant one man can be. And maybe Jimmy Williams is thinking of that, starting 2 left-handers against them, even though they seem to have more power from the right side.
Three and 2. Tough hitter, tough pitcher.
You know, it's interesting. It seems like we saw that a lot last year, too. Even in games like this, there seemed to be no rest for the bullpen. Jimmy Williams in this close game, and with the threat of a walk or a base runner here bringing the Tyrant to the plate, he's had to keep his bullpen going. And even though that guy in the bullpen might not get in, he's still throwing pitches down there, which takes a little something on his arm over the long haul.
You get the feeling that George Brett is going to get at least a piece of that ball all day long. He does not strike out very much. We've talked about that. Well, just in case.
Dwayne Ward, who 3 of his 4 last outings in spring training were a little bit rough. He pitched well a good part, but he started to walk a few too many.
It's always been his problem, control. Came back to haunt him again, as you said, late in camp. The 3-2 from Hinkie. Out of play one more time. George is good for a box or 2 of baseballs before the at-bat is over.
You make good pitches. That was right on his fist, perhaps off the strike zone. But George Brett, with that great plate coverage, somehow keeps himself alive. See where he and Kevin Seitzer had a bet in one spring training game who could get their uniforms the dirtiest. It was kind of a message to the rest of his teammates that he's going back to the old aggressive style of play that George Brett had for years.
Here is the 10th offering to Brett of this at-bat. And this will decide it.
That's it.
So Gruber on the line for the final out, and the Jays seal a 5-3 win over the Royals here in Kansas City. A win for Key, a save for Hinkie, and the season gets off on the right foot.
And a marvelous day for George Bell with 3 home runs, 4 RBIs, And George Bell was just magnificent, wasn't he, today?
You've heard of the Homer Hanky. Here's a happy Hanky. All over in Kansas City on Labatt's Blue Jays baseball and CTV.
You're witnessing the tragic end of an automobile, all caused by an oil that couldn't stand up to today's hotter running engines. An oil that couldn't deliver maximum protection against engine wear. So protect your engine with MotoMaster motor oil. Anything less could be the end. MotoMaster, built tough, back tough. Available at Canadian Tire.
All right, listen and listen tight, because I aim to do what I came here to do, and that is rent a car without having to throw in my horse and saddle to do it. That's why I came to Thrifty Car Rental. Well, they don't cost as much as them other yahoos.
Rent a luxurious Chrysler Fifth Avenue for just $36.95 a day. Thrifty has convenient in-terminal locations in most major airports across Canada.
You always get the best deal at Thrifty. Right, Pilgrim?
The town of Cornerburg has produced many sons and daughters of which it can be justly proud. Morning, ladies. Foremost, however, is Wendy. For it was she who founded a chain of restaurants based on the principle of fresh ground beef served hot off the grill to make hot and juicy hamburgers for all. This principle has made Wendy and her hamburgers a legend throughout the Dominion of Canada. Wendy, Cornerburg salutes you.
Legendary hamburgers. That's Wendy's way.
You'll be smiling.
I'm all set.
You'll be laughing.
That looks great.
Bring back those memories that we share. Hey, you're looking good. Any way you look at it, Flax is photography. At Flax we guarantee problem-free photography. Any way you look at it, Flax is photography. Flax is photography, guaranteed.
For the past 25 years, Mr. Transmission has been helping cars and drivers stay together. We've built our reputation on providing expert service to both front and rear-wheel vehicles, and we offer the best warranty in the business. Now, during our 25th anniversary, we're giving you a free road test, multi-check, and fluid top-up just for dropping in. It's our way of saying thanks, Canada, for calling us first.
Mazda celebrates 20 years in Canada with 6 ways to save. Save with free automatic transmission on Mazda 323, on the popular 626, on the sporty MX-6, and the luxurious Mazda 929. Save with free automatic on Mazda RX-7, and save with factory incentives on Mazda trucks. All this plus the best warranty in the business. 6 ways to save with Mazda. But hurry.
Well, the Blue Jays lost all 6 games they played here in Kansas City last year. It was a different story today in the opener. The Jays winning at 5-3, and one of the all-time great opening day performances by this man right here, George Bell. That was his solo shot in the 8th inning. You go back to the 2nd, he hit a solo shot, and then in the 4th inning, a 2-run homer, all off of Brett Saberhagen. So George Bell has been quiet the last couple of weeks. He's letting his bat do the talking. Jays win at 5-3. You're watching Labatt's Blue Jays baseball on TSN, CTV.
And details after the basketball game.
He's a Vietnam veteran who's been a leader in the fight for arms control. A Harvard graduate who sponsored the first comprehensive bill to help the homeless.